Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Welcome to CoCoTALK, episode 243. Happy New Year! 2020.2.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Hello, everybody. We made it.
We made it.
Happy
made
New
it.
Year.
We got through the intro.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Oh, let's see. We got most everybody's here on the
Good
panel
night,
today.
Mary Ellen.
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
All right, let's go around the room here. First up, we have Mark O.
Hello, sorry, I was typing. Glad to be here. Happy New Year.
All right, and I'm the second one over, your host, Mark. Next over, we have Rick Ulland.
Howdy, y'all.
Then Terry Stiggy.
Happy CoCo New Year.
All right, character turn, line feed, Grant Leedy.
Hey, everybody. Happy New Year.
And we have Ken Waters.
Happy
Producer
New Year,
of the-
everybody.
Let's see, producer of the High
Game
Score
On
Challenge. Game On Challenge, okay. And next we have Doug Bell, who's just give us a thumbs up. Yep, microphone problems today, that's fine. Glad you're here. Next over, Jason Reichard.
Happy New Year, etc. Yes.
Okay. And next line over to the left, we got D. Bruce Moore.
Hello, welcome from frigid Canada, where right now it is minus 40 outside my door.
Yeah, well, you can
It's only
keep it.
minus 10 here.
Yeah, it's already dropped 2 degrees since the show started.
And when it's that cold, it doesn't matter if it's centigrade or Fahrenheit at that point.
It's still damn cold.
Minus 10 in Vancouver is pretty cold, though.
All right, so next over, the one and the only Rick Adams.
Thank you. Thank you. You're too kind. And it's minus 6 here. Minus 6 Fahrenheit, I might add.
Okay, as long as
Oh, I didn't know this was the weekly weather updates.
as long as the natural gas don't freeze. All right, next over, Sloopy.
Greetings and salutations from nice and sunny 50 degrees Maryland.
Show
Bring
off.
up the
I see
bring
that
up the
I'm-
weather map and the satellite imaging while we're here. And
Well,
I
you're,
see,
well, see,
Facts.
you're
I
next
see.
door to the source of hot air.
yeah, I see everyone. I see that I'm everyone's number one friend with all the fingers saying number one.
All right, and from down under, we have Nick Marientes.
Good day, everyone. Happy New Year.
well, Nick, what's the temperature in Australia?
25 degrees Celsius at the moment.
That's pretty darn warm.
And,
Well,
and
it's-
what,
it's early
and what
morning
day is
here.
it there? Is it New
Over
Year's?
here, it's Monday. It's Monday.
Oh,
That's right.
That's about, and just in case Stevie's watching, 25 degrees Celsius is about 77 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Just in case Stevie watches this later.
Whereas we must point out negative 40 centigrade is negative 40 Fahrenheit. So
That was the joke, Rick.
that was the joke. It took me a while to get it. And I was just wondering if I was the only one who took that long.
All right. Last up, we have Alan.
Howdy, howdy from 80 degrees Fahrenheit, South Central Texas.
Don't worry, it's coming.
Please send more cold. This is ridiculous.
Be careful what you wish for.
At least our power grid's stable.
Oh, ouch.
Ow.
Ooh, too soon.
We're used
Let's see.
I think his computer system froze from that one.
Oh, but up there, they don't use water cooling for their computers. It's actually cooled by maple syrup.
Nice and thick.
I had some maple syrup this morning. True.
Yeah, they don't go by the temperature of the maple syrup. They go by the viscosity of the maple syrup.
Yeah, that's a 10W30 maple syrup we're using there.
Okay, well, let's see. What direction do we want to go in first?
Oh, do we have a game? We have a game on challenge.
Probably
this
game
week,
on
didn't we?
challenge.
We have game on challenge,
Duel.
and we have a couple of new. We have a new commercial, and we have a new item from D. Bruce and Rick. New collaboration. So, all right, game on challenge.
All right.
Just so you know, I'm good for about 50 minutes. So
50 minutes.
So you know.
I think we ought to
do you want the collaboration to go first?
Yeah, let's
Either
do the
way.
Let's do
collaboration
that.
first. Then.
Hey, well, welcome everyone to our planning meeting during the show.
Sorry, guys.
So let's see. I hear something about
Rick and I got to get out and shovel the snow.
Happily, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, isn't that sweet? No more lawn mowing too, right?
That's right.
Nice.
No more hedge clipping. But enough about that.
Okay, so I've got it queued up. Bruce, you want to tell us about it?
Howdy, cowpoke.
Yeah, well, someone should do just a recap on how the whole thing started. Is there a Rygaard here who might be able to fill us in on the initial bit?
Well,
going to CoCoFest back in the day.
Yeah, we're going to CoCoFest. Terry Steen, not to be confused with the Terry above me here. Terry Steen on the way to CoCoFest. What was that? Was 2019 CoCoFest. Unfortunately, somewhere in southern Ohio, collided with a couch. But he did eventually get a rental car and made it to CoCoFest that year, but with great delay. And then, of course, my brother Ken.
Wait, why was he driving through somebody's living room?
Oh, it wasn't a living room. It was actually fell off the back of a truck.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it was one of those highway couches. But and then my brother my brother Ken as an exercise, I guess, and did some machine, 100% machine language and basic. He went ahead and made a game where you dodge the rogue furniture on your way to CoCoFest. And then someone wrote a song about it.
Yeah, take it over, Rick.
Right. Yeah, sure. So I wanted to write a song about basically tying together a bunch, as many references to color computer games as I could possibly get away with. Sort of in the realm of We Didn't Start the Fire, or The Day the Music Died, where you throw a whole bunch of references in. And so I wrote a song about it, and the rest is history. So
I can play that one if you like.
So
yeah,
Bruce came up with.
Let's do the let's do the original. But I mean,
the original?
finish the original and then the new one.
Okay.
Here we go.
Nick Marotta on ukulele.
Got some time to kill, might play a little Zach song. Might double back to play a little Temple of Rum. Dungeons, Daggeroth,
color baseball. But none can hold a candle to the greatest of them all. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Sure love a sailor man. Firefall. Go on a rampage for some super pitfall. Shanghai me into a game of rogue or demon attack. But sooner or later,
Echo.
you know I've got to come back. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. It's got a road, and it's got a car. Dodge furniture, and you'll be a pop star. Well, okay, maybe I just stick to the facts. To tell the truth, this game really ain't all that. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. I used to bow down to the Donkey King. Grabber and Cash Man used to be my thing. Megabug, Buzzard Bait, Sea Dragon 2. But none of those can satisfy me, but you do. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway.
Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway.
Okay, there was the first version.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Rick, I believe Rick did a live unplugged version at the most recent CoCoFest.
Yep. That was fun.
A command performance with for Terry Steen, right? The guy who inspired it all.
Yep.
I don't have a copy of that one.
No.
Yep.
Oh, that's on. It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. I wouldn't play it here because it's like listening to three versions of the song in a row might get a little tiresome. But
Yeah.
people can hunt that up. They can hunt that
Yeah,
out
I think.
and find that.
Didn't you change the lyrics, Rick, too?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Only
You'll
slightly.
have to find, you'll have to find the YouTube video to find out the funny little change I made to the lyrics.
I'll post the link in chat.
Awesome.
Very good.
So then after, I think it was Boxing Day or the day after or something, I was kind of twiddling my thumbs, not sure what to do, and I went, oh, I have an idea. And the next day it was done, and I sent it over to Rick, and he unleashed it on the unsuspecting public via Facebook. And it's and so it's been since called Nightmare Hayride, I believe, and you'll see why when you hear it. Yeehaw!
Got time to kill, might play a little. That song. Might double back, play a little. Temple of Ron. Dungeons, Zagreus, color baseball. But none can hold candle to the greatest of them all. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Sure love Sailor Man. Firefall. Go on a rampage for some super pitfall. Shanghai me into a game of rogue or demon attack. But sooner or later, you know I've got to
Hang on, I think it's still broadcasting.
Nightmare Highway. Not for me.
Rose here.
Nightmare Highway. It's got a road. And it's got
There's a lot of echo in
Dodge
the
furniture.
Stream on Twitch.
Yeah, it is. It's echoing.
Well, okay, maybe I just stick to the facts.
I think it's Mark's end because I heard kind of an echo when he was speaking.
Yeah, it's echoing on YouTube. Welcome to rehearsal, everyone.
I have no idea why. I don't have any.
You're echoing right now, Mark.
Yeah, you're echoing right now.
I think it's something new back there.
I've never seen or heard this
Running
big
your
since
application.
Chesterfield Drive on 6.
I used to bow down to the Donkey King. Grabber and Cashman used to be my thing. Megabug, Buzzard Bait, Sea Dragon 2. But none of those can satisfy me much as you do. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Yeah.
Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway.
Got some time to kill, might play a little Zaxxon. Might double back to play a little Temple of Ron. Dungeons, Agarth, color baseball. But none can hold
There's an echo in it again.
the greatest of all. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Sure I love Sailor Man, Firefall.
On
Go
Zoom, I see
on
a
rampage for some super pitfall.
Yeah, echoes back.
Shanghai me into a game of rogue or demon attack. But sooner or later, you know I've got to come back to Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. It's got a road, and it's got a car. Dodge the furniture, and you'll be a pop star. Well, okay, maybe I just stick to the facts. To tell this truth, this game really ain't all that. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway.
Terry, look out!
It's a stampede of sofas.
I've never seen or heard this big since the Chesterfield Drive of 06.
I hope we can make it to the fest.
I used to bow down to the Donkey King. Grabber and Cashman used to be my thing. Megabug, Buzzard Bait, Sea Dragon 2. But none of those can satisfy me much as you do. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Yeah.
Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway.
All right. There we go. That should be back now.
Okay.
So the next time Rick does it live, he can do it there's a variety of flavors you can choose from.
I think he should choose to do it in an echo chamber. That sounded good.
And it was really funny that John came in the middle of this and it's like, what the heck is all this?
Now I guess we don't have any sound I'm seeing in chat.
Hopefully I should think I turned that back on.
There's
now.
still echo.
Well,
echo, but no sound. That's interesting.
It's the echo with no sound.
Somebody press the reset button.
Possible.
If there's no sound, what does the echo sound like?
Yeah, so at the moment, I don't know what word this could be coming from because OBS
We
and
need
my
to
Zoom
get
are
this
totally
fixed before
independent.
the actual show.
Yeah. What is the sound of silence echoing?
Okay.
Hey, so people in the chat here, because I'm still seeing it's like kind of conflicting. Are we getting? It sounds like you can hear us again. Are you getting echo on top of that, or is it just?
Because I'm not hearing echo at all.
Hey, Jim
Sounds
Rye
okay
says
to
it
me on
sounds
YouTube
fine.
right now.
Sounds like a tree falling.
No, that's.
Rocky
that's
says it's good.
that's-
So
yeah, okay.
Okay.
No echo.
All right.
No echo. Well, that's
Retro
CoCo
Tech
Talk
Time wants
now
to know
without
when the-
echo.
Somebody wants to know when the rap version's coming out.
Yeah, retro check time.
I think we should just be safe and do the mine version.
I think the rap version is coming around the same time that Predator is the game of the week for the Game On Challenge.
So next week.
That could happen.
I'm joking.
Okay.
Really?
Well, Rick would have to redo the vocal for that. That was the exact same vocal, of course, just instrumented, whatever, rearranged.
The backing tracks were different.
Yeah.
Yeah, remix it.
Okay. All right. Well, we ready to do the Game On Challenge?
Was there any comments from Rick and Bruce? Like, what prompted you guys to make this new version? And is there more planned? Is this going to be an annual thing now?
I was bored on Boxing Day.
We need
It just
reggae
came.
version. Oh yeah.
I don't think we could handle it annually.
The reggae version, a gent version. Yeah.
I want reggae might work.
Thrash metal version?
I have to think about that.
Thrash metal version? I can hear that now. Nightmare Highway.
I don't know if you noticed, but you know the demonic voice, the demonic voice of Nightmare Highway. I thought it'd be a nice counterpoint to have that angelic boys choir at the end.
Like the contrast, yes.
Yeah. It's going for a real, yeah.
Let's go for the German metal version.
Bus Highway Nightmare.
You know, I know what inspired me. I've been watching the Beatles, the Let It Be.
The 9-hour documentary?
Yeah, the 9-hour documentary. I think that's probably what inspired me. Yeah. I'm 6 hours through.
Oh my gosh. I just it's a lot. I haven't even gotten through the first one, but can you get a small anvil and just have someone bang on it then?
Yeah.
Hey, we have a request for a Calypso version.
Calypso, is that? Oh, with like the steel drums. Does that be Calypso?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, like island music style.
Caribbean.
In the style of Harry Belafonte.
You know, Beetlejuice.
I want Rick to write a new one. I guess you need some inspiration for something or other.
Looks like Rick just disappeared on us.
Oh,
we lost the video.
Too many suggestions. I'm out of here.
I didn't know a song could have feature creep like this.
It looks like his head exploded there.
It happens all the time.
That's a trademark of the show, feature creep for the guests.
Yeah, there's a lot of creeps here.
Oh, that was a fun version. I like that. It was kind of more peppy. I liked all the text stuff in the middle too that you guys added in. That made it a lot more funny. So
yeah, add the proper context.
Yeah.
Oh,
So did you
Richie's
just
back.
go outside of Winnipeg on a farm somewhere to record all those cattle sounds and stuff?
Oh, of course, yeah.
That's what I figured.
Well, actually, they were just heading down my street. So.
Oh, okay. Maybe I thought you maybe were getting it when you were out gathering your maple syrup. So.
No, but I did have maple syrup this morning.
The audio that I'm hearing is considerably less than previous.
That might be a good thing.
In quality or
volume. Quality's fine. It's just like
We make it up in volume.
right.
So has Terry reacted to this version yet, or has he seen or heard it?
I don't know.
He may have not. I don't think he's.
Not sure.
I don't think he's on the Facebook group or anything like that. So
Oh.
someone may need, if it's on YouTube or something, someone may need to reach out to him. Well, it's on
It's
YouTube
not
now,
on YouTube
kinda.
yet.
Well, kinda, but it's really echoey and it's buried in this show.
He may,
I thought
he may
this was
never
a test
find
stream.
it. He may never find it.
It's got that CoCoTALK dumpster fire feel to it right now on YouTube. We probably need a fresh one on there.
Welcome to 2022. More technical difficulties to come.
2020.2.
Well, we need someone now to do a new video for it, but with tumbleweeds and stuff like that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, all I did was I just built a slideshow with all of the Nightmare Highway pictures we had that was on the drive. I
that's
just
useful.
made a looping
Right.
slideshow out of it.
Oh, we need that old cowboy game with the wagon in the middle and the.
Actually,
Two
Terry
cowboys.
Steen wrote one of those. That's one of the games he wrote for the CoCo for T&D, so that would be perfect. We can actually use his own game for it.
Ooh, that would be sweet. That would be sweet.
Ooh.
Surprise him with that. Shh. Don't tell him.
Don't listen to that just a few moments ago, Terry. So you'll be surprised.
So,
We'll
Sloopy,
delete it in post.
when Sloopy does the chapters for this, put the "Don't watch this, Terry" part.
Great reverse
I'll
psychology.
call this section "Shh, don't tell
No.
Terry."
Noted.
Spoiler alert.
Perfect. Yeah.
Duly noted.
So, Rick, what's your next song?
I have absolutely no idea.
That's kind of a long title, but
I think the Atari game we were referring to looks like was maybe Outlaw, according to Can Make It.
Yeah, I think Terry's version is called Gunfighter, if I remember. I think it's on my site too.
Yeah, you should know then.
Yeah, I did it fairly recently, like in the last year or so, because it was one that was hidden away in one of the T&D tapes I hadn't tried yet. So it's a 2-player only game with a little bit of 4-voice music in it. So that's
nice.
appropriate. Maybe we have to get him to redo it with the Nightmare Highway theme if he still has the source. So we'll have to reach out to Terry there. First, he's going to have to see it, and then get him inspired to do a modification to his original game.
Okay.
Right.
So, Grant, are you on standby? My
Grant
internet's
is
getting a little hanky.
Grant currently has his camera off and muted.
Okay. We'll keep on rolling. So, are we anything else to say on the Nightmare Highway?
I think we're done.
Are we done?
Well, you can. I think the website's up there for Nightmare Highway if anybody wants to go get it. I think, what is it? It's Ken's CoCoCorner.itch.io, I believe. I think.
Yeah, Ken posted the link. Yeah. It's there.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay, in
All
that
right.
case, I think we can probably go on to the Game On Challenge.
Okay. Let me go throw another log on the fire here.
High Score Challenge.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the results of the
She titled
CoCoTALK
the right
Game
one.
On Challenge of the Week for the 2 weeks over Christmas. During
Yes.
those 2 weeks, we played 2 games. We played Dragon Slayer and Thexder. There were a total of 12 unique players, so first we'll look at Dragon Slayer, of which we had 9 players. We had Mr. Dave 6309 with 200. Canadian Retro Things 1300. Kieran 1500. Mark B 1900. Jim Rye, 4,100. Rich N, 5,200. Sloopy Malibu, 13,900. Brian Walsh, 14,000. And the number one score this week for this game is Buck Owens with 28,600. So thanks to everybody that played this game. So now it is time to take a look at the Thexder scores. And for this game, we also had 9 players. We had Mr. Dave 6309 with 61,200. Rich N, 80,000. Canadian Retro Things, 107,400. Mark B, 132,500. Sloopy Malibu, 145,200. Tasman, 153,100. L. Curtis Boyle, 158,800. Buck Owens, 170,400. And the number one score for this game was Eric Omont with 612,100.
Holy cow.
Thanks to everyone that took time out of their holiday schedules to play games with us this last 2 weeks.
CoCoTALK salutes Buck Owens.
Hey, you know what's really amazing? I was in the top 10.
With 9
So
players,
was
that's
I.
impressive.
It was a slow week.
It was over Christmas, so I wasn't expecting a huge turnout for the games, but
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to play Dragons. I was planning on it, and then my year-end stuff for work here took a bit longer than I was expecting, so I didn't get a chance.
yeah, I didn't have a lot of time to play either, but yeah, we got in a couple of games, so yeah, so let me see here. I got some, I don't have permission to share my screen right now.
All right, go for it.
Okay. And let's see here. We've got some footage here from Buck Owens of Dragon Slayer. So this was a game of just picking up items and moving them to the spots you needed to use them. So I don't know, did anybody have any tips or tricks about this game?
Make a map so you know where you're going, because you have to pick up certain items in specific orders in order to get to certain parts of the maze. And of course, there's 10 different levels to go through, each with 16 screens. So you have to map out each one separately, but you have to get planks from certain spots. And if you use a plank on a little side jaunt when you needed to get across to get another plank, you might have locked yourself out. You have to literally kill yourself to get back and get back on track again. So fair bit different numbers of types of objects too. It's kind of nice that it's got a lot of variety to a lot of replayability. There's the Tom Mix TM hidden away in the first level there. It's not really a points game per se. I mean, there's treasures and stuff to get, but I mean, picking up items and building like bridges and growing vines, etc., doesn't get you points. So there's a lot of exploring and memorizing the maze and the map, etc. So it's definitely one of those ones you want to make a map for.
It'd been nice if you'd be able to carry more than one thing at a time.
Well, that's part of the game, though. That's part of the puzzle element. I think Sloopy can attest to this. Like he really didn't like the game at first, and he kind of grew on him after a bit because of the puzzle element of it. You have to kind of solve, I have to do this in a certain order to get this one item in the right spot. Sloopy, you might want to expand on that.
Yeah, if you look at it as a platformer, it's a terrible game. But if you look at it as a puzzle game, it's much more interesting. I mean, they could have put things closer together. And I realized after playing a while, they did. If you need something for a certain puzzle, usually it's only like 2-3 screens away, or it could be on the other side of another puzzle. But for the most part, yeah, it's for a platformer, it's terrible. But for a puzzle game, it's quite good. And as you will hear about when the live section comes up.
Now, the one thing I would complain about this, I mean, I'm kind of used to the fact it was a puzzle platformer, not just a platformer. But the controls are a little bit wonky, I guess.
Yeah, they're
continuous moving.
Yeah, they are certainly interesting, so to speak.
I died a lot falling off ladders.
Yeah, I wish there was the only real control change that I would change is at first the constantly moving until you change direction or something stops you is like frustrating, but once you get used to it, it actually becomes a greater help than hindrance. The only real change that I would have been interested in is something where it makes it go slower, if you like push a button or something.
Yeah. The other thing they could have maybe done was not have fall damage. I mean, that might have made it too easy. I'm not sure, but that was, as Ken mentioned, it's pretty frustrating. You know, when especially when you're switching screens and stuff, and you just suddenly jump off something that's a little too high, and then you're just dead.
Right. Yeah, because I mean that was one of the biggest problems I had, especially when you go from one screen to the next, and it's like you're trying to get to the bottom. But I think that if you had a slow mode, that would help it, so that you don't do that.
Or yeah, like hold down the joystick button, or it would have your speed or something. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So good, Mark.
Or the left and right speed proportional to how far over you push the joystick.
Yeah, like actually, since we have analog joysticks, might as well take advantage of them.
Yeah, well, it works well for keyboard mode, though.
True.
Yeah.
Unless you held on shift or something to have the speed there.
Shift and arrow would walk you slower or something like that.
I mean,
or holding down.
You did have the 1, 2, and 3 key to adjust your speed.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways you can do it, but it definitely could be improved upon, I guess, in that respect. Also got some comments here from Buck Owens himself here. First one was, freaking falling off ropes and ladders. and they goes, the dark rooms are just mazes, nothing to do or grabbing them. If they allowed a flashlight plus one item, then you could have done some of the puzzles in there. Level 7 is all dark except 2 rooms, the start and the finish. Boring. I never got that far, so even in the heyday, I never got that far, so I never saw that. And I have no idea if this has a grand finale. I do know somebody had popped into Discord and he'd patched it because apparently the version that was up on the archive originally, level 10 didn't work. You couldn't solve it. You couldn't win the game. And he patched it, so obviously he's won it, but I don't even know what happens when you win the game. Does it give you a little message or some animation or something? I have no idea. Anybody here on the panel ever won this game?
Nope.
I think I've heard about it having some kind of animation or graphic, but I've never seen it. And I do remember that coming up a couple of years ago, but my recollection is foggy at this moment.
Is there an actual dragon?
When I finish it, I'll let you know.
You're planning on finishing it, Sloopy?
Yeah, I plan on playing it some more. I was actually going to stream it this morning on my own stream, but unfortunately my vision got a bit fuzzy, so I wasn't able to do it.
Well, that's not that your vision got fuzzy, but it's great to hear that you want to continue playing the game. That's what we want from the Game On challenges.
Yeah, there's a couple games that I've played even after we've had a game.
Yeah, it's also too bad. Some years ago, and Nick, maybe you can answer as to how long ago. I don't remember how long ago, but there was actually a person working on a CoCo 3 port of this with enhanced graphics, and he actually had a few screenshots up. And it's got to be a decade ago or something like that. But unfortunately, the project kind of got dropped, so never got completed. But that would have been really cool to see.
Although with the CoCo 3 version, I mean, what would it be? Just better sound and better graphics? The
graphics were very much enhanced, color-wise, etc. So it looked pretty nice. Like I said, there was a few screenshots a person had put up about it. I don't know if he was planning on expanding it or not. I guess he could have, but obviously the screen could be wider. I don't know if he had. I can't remember if he had wider tiles or if he just had more had black borders. I'm not sure what he did there. I can't remember.
Right. It does look kind of like the poop emoji running around, doesn't it?
Yeah. Who's actually playing this?
This is Buck Owens.
Oh, because he's definitely not going for a high score.
Is this the one where he actually got up to level 6 or 7?
I don't know. It's the one he did yesterday. Let's see.
Fast forward and show some of the more complex maze stuff there. Screens I've never seen.
So here he is, an hour and 40 minutes into the stream.
Yeah, it does look like his high score run.
Yeah. Yeah, he posted this yesterday. So
I'd love to see Erico's. I mean, he got the 600,000 plus or something. Did he win it?
That was on Thexder.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Shoot.
Buck Owens won the Dragon Slayer.
Yep. Actually, Buck says you think he'll be fit playing this one to finish too. So hopefully you can record that on video. We can actually do a follow-up in the future here and kind of show how the game ends.
Yeah, I also want to make a shout out to Buck for using my creative use of expletives here. Waffles, grapes, flapjacks.
Yeah, I didn't realize House of Pancakes was a sponsor for this, but okay.
No, it's... I'll explain on my show the details on that.
We didn't want another Curtis Boyle incident, did we?
No, sorry.
Is it the International House of Pancakes?
No, Waffle House.
Oh, Waffle House to you too, buddy.
Hey. Watch your mouth. There are children present.
So I think that's about all we can say on Dragon Slayer.
Yeah.
It was a really good game. I remember I actually bought this one at Rainbow Fest right from Tom Mix himself at the show. And like you got replayability out of this because it's such a involved game in so many levels. There's 160 screens to go through in total, and you have to go back and forth between them all the time. So you're kind of having to figure your way through. So it definitely had a lot of replayability out of it. But
So
I don't really have anything more to add at this point. Go ahead.
There's 10 levels?
Yeah.
So you got a way to go, Sloopy.
I got to 5, so.
Oh yeah.
Buck says he got up to 7 or 8, so.
Yep.
You'll hang on.
Couldn't you use the plank to get rid of the spider?
No.
Just the bug spray.
It's an awfully big spider. I don't know if the plank would just probably shatter on him or something.
No, it'll take it away from you and smack you around with it. I mean, he does have 8 legs.
Yeah. And I like how some of the objects you actually have to do things with, like a bucket. Most of the time you pick it up, it's empty. So you have to go find water and fill it first before you can, grow a vine or something.
I like right there, the bug sprays on the other side of the bug.
Yeah. I call that cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah, you can see it, but you can't do anything about it. And the spider's like, ha ha.
Well, let's see, a bucket of water could take care of the spider.
I don't know. That spider's big enough. I don't think it'll fit in the bucket.
Bucket.
It's probably an Atalantean swimming spider or something with your luck. So,
no, not Bucket. Buck Owens.
Wah wah.
So, anybody else? Any further comments on Dragon Slayer? Or should we switch over to Thexder and see if there's any comments, tips, tricks on that one?
I had this one back in the day, but I enjoyed it. I didn't get a chance to play it this week, but it's a favorite. But I don't think I've ever made it past level 2. So, but I have it somewhere around here.
All
Anybody
right.
else? Okay, go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to say, well, if there's nothing else, we can switch over to Thexder.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, I don't have any video for Thexder, so we'll just have to talk.
Well, we can put Sloopy. Sloopy,
good.
Sure's got some.
Okay, Sloopy, if you want to throw up some Thexder video, we can have that up while we're talking.
Alrighty. Let's see here.
Just to put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, everything else is unrehearsed, so why would this be any different?
Yeah.
Can you throw in some technical difficulties too while you're at it?
I've got plenty of them. What the fluff? Oof.
Well, that this is the version of Thexder that looks just like Dragon Slayer.
Yeah. I had them.
I can hold up the box.
I had them set up for my section of the show, and
I've messed it all up for you.
Well, no, I had them set up for my section of the show and didn't realize that I'd put 2 Dragon Slayers instead of 1 Thexder, 1 Dragon Slayer. I guess that's probably should tell you everything you need to know about Thexder.
Now, Thexder's a mixed bag for me. This will be my quick little review of it. The controls are fine. You do die too quickly, even with shields and stuff on. The graphics on the CoCo version are quite good. Unfortunately, they're limited. That doesn't have all the levels. It doesn't have some of the intro, outro stuff, etc. It just basically repeats with a faster, more aliens to kill type thing, or kill you in most cases. But I think the biggest reason that it was so limited is they actually had to cram this onto a 16K ROM cartridge. They didn't even use the 32K ROM that was available. One of the things they designed in the CoCo 3 was that the ROM cartridge slot could handle up to a 32K ROM. And of course, then we had some later games like Predator and Robocop that actually added MMU hardware to go past that. But for some reason, they limited Thexder to 16K, and that was a huge mistake. And that's one of the reasons the CoCo version is so restricted compared to some of the other versions. Best yet, they could have made it on disc like just about everybody else did, and then you could have had like 150K for graphics and all the different levels. So it's like a subset of the actual quote unquote Thexder, and that's probably the biggest disappointment for me.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like this one. I never have. I mean, I have it, but I hadn't touched it in years. I pulled out the cartridge and I went, I remember. I don't really care for this. And it just, you can't pick where you shoot. It just shoots wherever, and you die quickly. I just, not my thing.
Yeah, the CoCo version's only got 5 levels. Now, one thing I did notice, actually, when Nick Morenz and I were kind of going through this a while ago, compared with other versions that were out, it's funny that the various versions for like the PC and Atari and the Amiga, etc., actually have slightly different graphics for some of the monsters. Like they didn't use common graphics between them, although they very well could have. The actual Thexder player itself is pretty well identical between all the different platforms, but for some reason, there's a bit of originality to each platform as to how some of the monsters are represented. And I'm not quite sure why they did that. Or was that just to give each platform a slightly unique flavor? But yeah, I agree with you, Jason, on the firing, the fact that it doesn't aim. And sometimes you're getting swarmed by things and it's firing off in random directions, not where you would like to shoot. And that's definitely annoying. And also on later levels, like as I during the stream here, I actually did the OS9 version where you can kind of cheat and tell it to start at different levels. I didn't include that for scores or anything, but I just wanted to see what the later levels look like. There's some of them where you have to blast through the walls, and it's such a pixel perfect hit with that stupid auto aim that doesn't work properly that it takes an incredibly long time to finally blast through a wall so you can get on to the next level. Like I think I spent literally 10 or 15 minutes trying to get one single corridor shot out so I can complete the level. And that's just bad design.
Well, I never got that far, but I haven't played Thexder on any other systems. So, I mean, it's not my favorite game, but I didn't hate it as much as some people.
I think it's sort of a golden rule of gaming that if you're cheating and the game is still a slog to get through, something is not good.
Yep. I was going to ask you actually, both, since you're a professional gamer, unlike the rest of us here, have you played Thexder on any other platforms?
I think that I had to go with it once in the DOS version, and I was just as unimpressed with it. I mean, to me, this is just sort of a hallmark. I mean, what year did this come out? Is this 1991, something like that?
No, 88 for the CoCo version. I think the other ones were like 85, 86, 87. Somewhere.
Okay. It's just sort of indicative of the different paths of platforming that were taken in that late 80s period between what was going on in the console world and what was going on, because this also got computer releases on, I think, the MSX and some of the Japanese computers too. And it's just a totally sort of different game than what you found, on the consoles at the time. I've always found this one to be, like people have said, sort of difficult to, not necessarily difficult to control, but the shooting mechanic is just weird. It's just weird, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Yeah, I do believe this is originally a Japanese game. Yeah, is it not?
Yeah, I think it is.
Right.
Well, the CoCo cartridge has got a copyright date on it of 1987.
Yeah, but
so I don't know if which copyright that is, but that's just on the cartridge.
That's on the CoCo version.
Well,
I think it came out in 85.
85. Okay. Go ahead, Rick.
I was just going to say, what I didn't like is if you're looking for Thexder, it's not Thexder. And if you're just looking for a game to play on your CoCo, it's not really that good to me. I mean, if this was concessions made to play a game that I really wanted to play on the CoCo, it would be fine. But just as its own game, I never liked it. I spent a lot of money for it back when I didn't have money to spend on CoCo games, and I was really disappointed in the dang thing.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when I first got it way back in the day, I actually did like it for the first little bit until I found out how repetitive and how badly the shooting mechanic worked. Like, it was kind of fun flying around and transforming. It was kind of a new thing at the time.
It's definitely unique. You got to give it that.
Yeah. And it was a huge seller. I mean, this is one of the first games ever that sold 500,000 copies across platforms. In fact, they had that emblazoned on the box, over 500,000 copies sold. So it wasn't a failure in the market or anything, but
I wonder how many
John,
of those
I think it
copies
just
were sold on the MSX in Japan.
Yeah, I'd say that's what it was.
That's where you think the majority are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a cultural difference.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I find them good.
Curtis, you were saying that the when it was converted to OS 9, that the code was very much, you could tell it was originally 6809. Yeah. So that would make sense, because in Japan, the 6809 is a popular, was a popular CPU back in the day.
Yeah, the Fujitsu FM7, FM77, etc. And OS 9 was popular in Japan too. I mean, Microware had their own office in Japan specifically.
So the original may have been 6809 code originally.
Yeah. I know when Alan was doing the port, because Bill and Noble had just done the Shanghai port, and then Alan, kind of helped tidy it up a little bit. But when Alan was doing this one, he said the code itself looked like it was designed for OS 9. Like, there was software interrupt calls and stuff in there for internal things that were set up eerily like OS 9 does its own system calls. It looks like it was just translated. They just, put in the code to handle the interrupts. So it looks like it was actually, because he said this was one of the easiest ports he did. And he did a couple, like, help with Shanghai and a few other things too, where he was, porting stuff over from RS-DOS, Disk Extended Basic to OS 9. And he said this one, the first draft of this was done in like a couple of weeks, from, raw disassembly right to having it running. I mean, as an OS 9 game, it's one of the better ones as far as an arcade game in OS 9 type thing, and it's kind of nice at being able to multitask. So if you do get bored with it, you can flip over to play Shanghai for a bit and then can pick up where you left off. But as a disk basic game or a cartridge game, it looks visually nice at first, and when you first play it, if you've never played it before, it's kind of fun, but then it starts getting irritating pretty quick with the firing mechanic, and then the difficulty of trying to aim things and stuff, and getting incinerated by robots all the time.
I have to say the firing mechanic is the thing that made me the most annoyed, but I guess I haven't played it enough to get as jaded against it as everybody. But
yeah, well, I have to go back to my memories. Like I said, when I first bought it for the first week, maybe I did like it. I got to explore the levels and kind of get through it. Then you find out they repeat. And then you also find out how difficult the later levels are, not because the game is getting more difficult. It's getting because you have to so closely, quote unquote, aim as best as you can to try to get rid of some of the blocks to, unblock a wall to get to the next level. And then if that's taking you minutes and minutes just to do that, I mean, I already had the aliens dead, and then you still just trying to plow this stupid wall and you can't aim it quite properly. That's, as John said, that's just bad design. And, I don't know why they would have accepted that in Japan. That's why I was wondering if some other people in the panel have played some of the other, other platform versions of it to see if that was maybe a unique issue with the CoCo controls, or was that just universal across all the platforms?
Guess nobody else has played it anywhere else.
or not in a long time. Like John, you said you played possibly the DOS version, but
yeah, and I played it briefly. It wasn't an in-depth thing.
I played it on something. I think I played it on a PC or something, but I don't remember. This is 30 years ago. But I definitely remember I bought it for the CoCo, and then I didn't like it on the CoCo. It just wasn't.
Speaking of MSX, has Mr. Dave 6309 played this on MSX? Because he's a very big MSX person.
He's in chat, so he can let us know.
Yeah, well.
Got a couple MSXs. I'll have to give them a try.
I got an MSX that doesn't work.
I'd be really interested hearing from people, like, how the CoCo compare. We already know the CoCo version is a lot shorter, doesn't have all the levels, etc. But I would really interesting on the gameplay aspects of it, how it compares with some of the others. Well, but honestly, this is one of those places where Tandy got cheap again, I think, and restricting it to the 16K ROM was a huge mistake. I mean, at least go for the 32. You could at least try to put some of the levels and maybe even some of the intermissions in.
Kind of a selling mistake too, if it was such a big selling game on other platforms.
Yeah, like why would you purposely
cheap out on
cripple
it? Yeah.
Like the Tandy 1000 version has all the levels, and it also uses 3-voice music, etc. too. So,
yeah, I think that what I've noticed is that with Tandy, they seem to treat anything that they didn't originally source and make as a B title, no matter what its source was. If it was originally an A title for other systems, they still if it wasn't theirs, and they seem to treat it as a B title. And that it seems to be a big problem with this, is that it should have been treated as an A-list title and given its due, instead of being given the rush and and the bum's rush, so to speak, in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
The old nothing can be faster than a Mustang rule, right?
Yeah.
I do think Tandy did improve that a little bit later on, though. Like, this is one of the earlier releases.
Yeah.
But later on, when they did like Rampage, that used 32K. Obviously, RoboCop, they even let them add extra MMU hardware to get the rest of the levels in. So it's like a 64K game or 128. I can't remember which one that is.
Yeah, because I was reading through some of the history, and it was like when the 16B came out and it was like released for 5 months, they were like, oh, we should have supported third-party developers more than we did. And this was like right before that, if I understand the timeline correctly. So this is one of the things that unfortunately were in the earlier parts where they didn't really want anything else to supersede their own offerings.
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying there.
Yeah, I think Tandy near the end, like a year or two after this, it started realizing that, as you said, the A-list titles you have to treat as A-list. And I think they did start improving it, where they did expand, the hardware. Okay, you can use the full 32K. We'll pay the extra 50 cents a chip or whatever it was back then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because it was like, I think like 87 was about 86, 87 is when the 16B was released. And so it was probably like 87 when they finally came to the realization that they'll do better with helping third parties as opposed to not. So, all right. Should I start my section now?
All right. Well, let's just, since you've got the video going, let's jump right into how the live stream went.
Well, as we were discussing, this wasn't a particularly popular game. I mean, we had up to 4 people playing. Special shout out to Mikey for coming and joining us. But yeah, it was not up there. I mean, a lot of people came by, stopped by, said hi, and said, yeah, this isn't exactly my favorite game. So we didn't get a lot of players on this. As I said on my show, I've come up with a new rating system, and it's a number it's 1 out of how many for rating games. And this one, originally I put it as in my top 100,000 games. And after playing a little, I brought that back a little bit to one of my top 50,000 games. So, but yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, so to speak, and let's speak of it no more.
Okay, well then let's move on to Dragon Slayer.
Exactly. Now, it was, as we were just discussing, as a platformer, no, it wasn't very popular, but as a puzzle game, yes, we had actually up to 4 people playing at once. I'm guessing with the holidays and such that people were quite a bit busy, but yes, it was quite an interesting game, and we had actually I really got into this, and we had our longest stream so far at a little over 6 hours. Because
I know it's almost a regular episode.
Yeah. As you can see, I was starting to get into it, and kept going, and there was one or two people still watching. So I was figured, why not? And eventually, I was able to get to the fourth level in it. Other people on the show were able to get to the second and third.
My favorite part, Sloopy, watching it was actually because at the beginning you rated it right with Thexder. You said this is in your top 100,000 games, kind of being sarcastic. And then by the end of the stream, you kept bumping it up.
I think a big part of that is, like I was saying, that I was thinking that it was like an action platformer, and it is not. It is not an action platformer at all. I was thinking it was more like a dungeon crawl game, sort of like Temple of Apshai or something like that. But it's not. It's actually a puzzle game. So, and I think that when you look at games through the light to which they were made, it can change a lot about them. And if you're looking for a action game, then you expect an action game, and anything but an action game is not going to be a quote unquote good game. And this is definitely not an action game. This is a puzzle game. If you're looking for a puzzle game, you're not going to realize that this is actually a puzzle game to start with, which makes it deceptive like that. But it also makes it a good, because it's not a typical puzzle game. Like Photon is a straight up puzzle game. It looks like a puzzle game, acts like a puzzle game, so you know right away. And there's other examples of this also, but obviously here it's not as evident. But if you take it into the light that it was made, it is a very good game.
Yeah, I would call it a puzzle game with, action elements, I guess, because there is some of the real time running around and stuff. But you're right. Also, I just want to make one quick comment here. Mark Siegel's actually in the chat talking about the Thexder cartridge, and he said that Tandy had nothing to do with specifying the 16K. It was presented to them as is, complete, and that Tandy didn't even make the ROMs for it, I guess. Their company did on their own. So
so we
that's
have to
rather interesting.
So we have to start cussing it at other people too.
Yeah.
And I see that Ken Can Make It says that you look like the Fry guy from the McDonald's commercials in this game. So either the poop emoji or the Fry guys.
No, neither one. Someone else mentioned in the comments the perfect explanation. It is the hat from the Devo.
Then he should have a whip.
And it's very fitting, because you want to whip this game. But as I was saying earlier, also, obviously we're not a show for children, but we try to be as family friendly as possible. And with games like Thexder and puzzle games that can be frustrating, we are not. We still need our expletives. So, in my own personal life, I use waffles and pancakes for high curses and low curses, and obviously other people are picking up on that and using it also. So I want to say thank you, because wow, I started a trend. But
so what is the ultimate quote unquote curse using this language? Is like croissant or something? I don't know what to reserve from when I'm really, really frustrated.
Technically, the whole pancakes would be like saying poop in the expletive form, and then waffles would be the high as 1983 taught us, is the F -- word.
Okay. You could probably work crepe into there.
Yeah, I mean, you crepe, croissants, any bread products. But
what about blueberry pancakes?
Sure.
But when you add the maple syrup to it,
chocolate chip pancakes.
Yeah.
Blueberry waffles.
We're feature creeping your language there, Sloopy.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. We're gonna need you to make a spreadsheet for all this.
Okay.
We can get away with 7 breakfast foods, right?
Yeah, a full PowerPoint presentation for next week.
Yeah, and then send that straight to Curtis.
Yeah, I think that'll be in the same amount of work that I put into the Thexder how to install it on RS-DOS video.
well, this would all make sense in Canada because I mean Canadians are generally polite. So if you say pancakes with syrup or pancakes with maple syrup, it would be an emphatic form of that curse word. So therefore, the Canadians are actually using maple syrup as their modifiers. So I guess we're not allowed to say maple syrup. When they're talking about maple syrup, they're actually talking disparagingly about other people. They're just being polite about it.
Don't give away our secrets.
Got some comments in chat too. Mark Siegel suggested buckwheat would be another one you could add. 60 says sugar and lemon is the only proper pancake. It's got to be a UK thing. And Dave Veery says don't talk maple in vain.
See what you've done.
Pancakes.
And thank you to our new sponsor, IHOP.
Waffle House. IHOP is too highbrow for these people.
Besides, the Waffle House is a valid test of weather, right?
Welcome our new sponsor, store brand waffle mix.
Yeah, when I first heard about Waffle House being used for weather back like 15, 20 years ago, I was like, holy cow. And I was like, what do they do in areas that don't have Waffle Houses?
We just don't know.
Now, Sloopy, I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
Then I guess you just get an omelet, I guess.
Yeah.
Egg McMuffin, man. So my question, Sloopy, you've talked before about doing a more friendly time once a month for our European viewers, because of course it's way early in the morning for them. Do you have a plan yet as to when the first episode of that is happening?
It will be. I've already discussed it with a few people. It's going to be starting this month. I'm probably going to do it around the middle of the month. I'm going to get together with a bunch of people. If anyone wants to send me suggestions, they can. But I was thinking somewhere around the second or third week, of the month, which tentatively would be like the 19th of January. And I would start around 1 p.m. Eastern time, which would be about 7 p.m. on the eastern side of the pond. Well, you people know what you're talking about when it's time. I don't remember times exactly off the top of my head, but like
I think there's 5 or 6 hours ahead, depending where in Europe too. So the Netherlands is 6 hours ahead of us, and so I was thinking starting at 7 o'clock there, which would be 6 o'clock in the UK, if I remember my European times. Again, that'd be between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. here in North America, right?
Well, it'd
depending
be about,
on which coast you're on.
Yeah.
You need to stick with the standard time for the show, which is Florida time, Sloopy. Everything's in Florida time. All right.
Curtis is the one who's confusing me. I always go, in America, there's only one time zone.
Oh, Curtis is Florida -1.
Oh, so he doesn't even know.
Or -2, depending on what time of the year it is, because we don't do daylight saving.
Exactly. Yeah, so he doesn't know what real time is.
No, we do real time here. You guys haven't caught up yet.
Real time is the West Coast. Come on.
No, the East Coast is the right coast. Notice it's right on the map. You look, it's on the right.
Yeah, but the West Coast is the best coast.
Unless you're looking at the map from
daylight
Australia.
savings sucks and you should cancel it. You can get back to me then.
Yeah. Daylight savings time does suck. I think it should be abolished, but
we're hopefully going to be doing that in BC. So then it's going to get really confusing for us because we won't change, but everything below us will.
Well, a fair number of states are looking at it too. I mean, there was been votes in California, et cetera, though nothing's actually happened yet, but I think quite a few states.
I think California's been talking about it since about 1988 or something.
I think they've been talking about it since they put it in, but yeah.
And BC's been talking about stopping it as soon as California and Washington and everything does. But
yeah, from what I understand, there's certain areas in Indiana that don't even do the daylight savings time.
Yep, Arizona doesn't, Hawaii doesn't.
I think at one time Indiana didn't do it, then they did do it. I'm not sure where it is now, but there was a long time they didn't do it.
It used to be county by county.
And then when they when they made daylight savings time longer, then they started to do it, and it's just a mess. And
and now getting back to the game and off the time tangent.
Yes.
Yep.
What a time sink. But yes. And to rate this game, I would say it's in my top 200 favorite games.
Wow, that's a big improvement for the one top 100,000.
I want to see this spreadsheet.
And
you have a spreadsheet of your like top 100,000 games?
No, because we're still working on getting a ruling for Nightmare Highway, and that's been holding the whole thing up.
And
blame it on Nightmare Highway.
I keep
Sloopy. Where does it rate for puzzle games for you? Just puzzle games.
It's just a general. There is no specific. It doesn't break down into.
Oh, you don't have a breakdown of individuals. Come on, get on that.
No, that would just be silly.
I'm too busy sitting on the sofa on Nightmare Highway because it's enjoyable to sit in the middle of the road
and watch cars come to you.
Yep.
Sloopy, if I narrow it down for you, as far as the puzzle games you've tried in the CoCo, because the CoCo is a newer platform to you, where would you rank it in puzzle games on the CoCo 1 and 2?
Honestly, I haven't played a lot of puzzle games on the CoCo, but it would probably be in my top 5 because I can't really think of a whole lot of other puzzle games off the top of my head.
Like, I don't know, have you played with stuff like Sokobon and Tube Frenzy and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I haven't really played any of those.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's the numbers don't really matter. It's more of a relative term of whether you like it or not, without saying things are bad. It's trying to put a positive spin on everything. Because I didn't want to say Thexder sucks, but we all know, we're all thinking it.
Okay, so you're planning the middle of the month for the European friendly one. Are you going to be doing both versions that week, or are you switching it completely over? Okay.
No, we'll do both. I'll do at 1:00. I'll do the thing. I'll do the afternoon matinee, and the afternoon matinee will be on Wednesday, and then the regular show will be on Thursday.
Okay. And then one last question for both you and Ken. Are you guys going to coordinate what the game will be that week? So it's something that was, common to the Dragon, or is that even an issue at this point because everybody has emulators?
No, well, we never really discussed that, but in my opinion, it would be best not to do that because the whole idea of the Game On Challenge is to get people to play new and different games.
Yeah.
So limiting you to games that they've already played kind of defeats the purpose.
Good point.
But Ken, I don't know your opinion on it. You're the one who actually
I agree.
used the game. So, and if you want a suggestion for the first game, Color Scripts, it seems to be a very popular game.
Okay, well, I'll take that into consideration.
That Telerider 128.
That one never gets old.
WeFax.
Oh, jeez.
So anyway, discussing the next game here, I think Ken, you should take over and get us back on the rails.
Okay, well, let's see here. See if anybody knows this game.
Junior's Revenge.
Yes, it is.
This is the original CoCo 1 and 2 one too, not the
This
CoCo 3
is
version.
the original CoCo 1, 2, 1. I actually tried both versions, and I think this one's a little bit easier. I don't know why, but also I didn't want to limit the people to just the CoCo 3 version. So,
good, because my CoCo 3 has a CoCo 2 keyboard on it temporary.
So this is just Junior's Revenge. There's Return of Junior's Revenge, which is the CoCo 3 only, but Junior's Revenge is the one that works on all 3 computers.
Yeah. So this will require 32K, CoCo 1 or 2.
Or 3.
I might even work on the Dragon. I've never tried it on the Dragon emulator, but it's joystick based, so.
And in case nobody recognized it, it's a Donkey Kong Jr. game.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is there any other Donkey Kong Jr. versions for the CoCo, or is this the only one?
Just this one and the Return of Junior's Revenge, which has a little bit of a spot in history. It's not the greatest game, but it's also one of the very first third-party games for the CoCo 3 release.
Yeah. I was going to mention that, but thank you. I read that on your website. So, yeah, that's the game for next week. So,
Tom Erik Gundersen in the chat mentions that Junior's Revenge was released by both Dragon Data and Microdeal for the Dragon, so that they definitely played this one there too. So,
okay.
Ready for a commercial break?
Sure. I need
Before
coffee.
We get into the news. Okay.
Yep. Let's do the new one there, Mark.
We got to run through the first suite anyway, but yeah, I'll stick that in.
You are watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading weekly video podcast, featuring a Tandy-colored computer. We spread the love to the past, present, and future for all models, including the original color computer, the CoCo 3, and the world-renowned exclusive French-Canadian CoCo 2, the Radio Shack.
At CoCoTALK, we'd like to thank the patrons who sponsor our program. So our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Alan Huffman, Alan Murphy, Blair Ledoux, Bowden Aaron, Brendan Donahue, Brian Weasler, Karen Anscombe, D. Bruce Moore, Daniel Williams, Diego, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Downs, Ken Reichert, Kyle Etter, Malfunct, Michael Pitsley, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Paul Thayer, Rick Ulland, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Stephen Wagner, Steve Batson, Steve Rasmussen, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C., Tom Gundersen, Tom Heron, Tom S., Tony C., and William Athing. Thank you ever so much, patrons.
Hi, this is Eddie Zerbinsky from beautiful Quebec City. Vous écoutez CoCoTALK.
As you're enjoying CoCoTALK, we also want to remind you about the CoCo Discord server. This is a place where people come to connect, to ask questions, to provide answers, to share information, and to socialize. So when you're done, why don't you head on over to the CoCo Discord server and we'll continue the conversation there. The easy to remember link is discord.cocotalk.live. See you on Discord. CoCo123 is the Glenside Color Computer Club community newsletter that's been in publication since 1985. While the Rainbow magazine may be gone, it doesn't mean you still can't have a cool CoCo periodical. Head on over to the Glenside Color Computer website at glensideccc.com and then click on the Documents link to view all the past issues of the CoCo123 newsletter. Not only can you read all of the past and present issues, we'd also love to hear some submissions from you. So if you'd like to send an article, a column, something to talk about, maybe even a program listing, send an email to glensideccc@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. The CoCo World Map is a cool community resource where you can view coconuts from around the world. Head on over to map.cocotalk.live and see where your fellow Coconutians happen to be living on the planet Earth. If you would like to submit yourself to be on the CoCo map, send an email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live, and we look forward to seeing you on the CoCo map. Hey guys, it's Stevie Strode. If you've been watching CoCoTALK for a while, hopefully you understand that everyone is welcome to join this show. You don't need an impressive resume to get on. You just need to enjoy the CoCo and be willing to talk about it. There is no wrong way to CoCo. There is no wrong way to be a fan of the CoCo. There's no wrong way to be on CoCoTALK. You just have to want to talk CoCo. So if you would like to join us, then reach out to us on our Discord server, which is discord.cocotalk.live, or send an email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live, and let's get you on the show and let's talk about the CoCo.
Hi, I'm Tim, and you're watching CoCoTALK Live. And I'm playing Daggerath online like that idiot from the book.
Can you dial back on the condescension there as you respond there?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
Oops.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord this week?
The Baby Cup. Hi, my name is Andy. I'm into a variety of retro systems but am new to the Dragon and CoCo and was curious. I use various emulators as I have no room for physical machines. Computer hobbyists. Hi guys. I'm David. I was the guest on the last CoCo Talk and found out about this Discord server. I like the color computer, Commodore PET, Commodore 64, and old DOS systems. Mickler. Hello, my name is Richard. My first computer, 40 years ago, was an original CoCo with 32K. Managed to upgrade it to 64K and then kill it by experimenting a bit with the hardware in it. I then used a CoCo 2 for a few years.
Kathleen. Hello everyone, I'm Miss Kathleen, from Belgium. I'm a big fan of the TRS-80 computers and especially the CoCo 1, 2, 3, the 2 being the first computer that I owned when I was young. I still have a CoCo 2 with its accessories, disk drive, SD card reader, tape player, etc.
Trembile. Hi, my name is Sean. I don't have direct experience with CoCo machines, but I'm very interested in emulation. The CoCo seem like fun little 8-bits that I'd like to learn more about. Kenig. Hi, my name is Ken, as you may have guessed from my username. I was born in 1953, so I am retro. I recently bought a CoCo 2 and have been using Atari Age to learn about it. The previous bios were edited for time's sake. Thanks to Melly, Boysantech, Paul Fiscarelli, Terry Stagee, and the CoCoTALK patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. At discord.cocotalk.live.
Everyone's favorite game. Take it away, Curtis.
Smoothest segue ever.
Smooth.
First of all, a big shout out to Terry Stagee for making that Glenside 30th annual CoCoFest promo.
Thank you.
As Rocky Hill says, obviously it was made with the actual, clearly rendered on a CoCo with a Gimme X. So
MC10.
Oh, it was an MC10. Wow, that's impressive. And 60 said, ooh, fancy ads. So some kudos for you there. Now we just need you guys to make like a model of Mark B so we can do the announcing for him and he doesn't have to keep tongue-tying himself all the time.
Poor Mark.
I was trying to say everybody's favorite segment, Game On News.
Didn't quite work.
Yeah, didn't quite work that way. The other ones are pre-recorded.
Yep.
I'm no Stevie.
No, I don't think any of us are. He used to do professional stand-up comedy, so he's used to talking in public and winging it too. So none of us have that experience that I know of.
Right. He's got that MC in him.
Yeah. Okay, so there's been 2 weeks since we did the last show, so there's a fair catching up to do. So there's a fair bit. I'm going to probably rapid fire a few of them because some of them are in groups. So I won't show everything from a particular group. I'll just do a couple as a highlight. And these aren't quite in chronological order. The first few probably are a little bit older, but others are going to be kind of just whenever I found them and threw them into the talk. So anyway, the first one here is an update from Sheldon MacDonald, who was, of course, working on his Ice Brawlers hockey game that supports CoCo 3 and the CoCo VGA, some of the enhanced graphics modes. He's got a new video showing it, which now shows things like scoring, working, and carrying the puck around, as well as having the music running in the background. I won't play the whole thing, but I'll play a little bit of it here. It does change the pace of the music when you're getting near the end of the game as kind of a audio cue to the player that you're running out of time to try to score as many goals as you can. So I'll probably skip a little ahead of that once play a little bit of the original speed here. Is the sound coming through okay?
Yes.
Yep.
This will be a 2-player game or a 1-player versus the computer game, from my understanding.
Well, this is not a real hockey game. There's no blood on the ice.
Well, I'm hoping he adds that because he did call it Ice Brawlers. He didn't call it Ice Hockey, so I'm imagining there's something coming yet.
Unless he calls for high sticks.
Slashing. Yep, that's where it is. You can hear the time kick in, where it starts speeding up the song to specifically let you know that you're getting near the end.
Just like Mario.
And he's going to have to change the palettes on his score in the upper left corner because it gets quite hard to read in some spots there, depending on the background. So. But it's still work in progress. Now, it looks like he actually, literally while the show was on, he sent me a message here that it looks like he's getting ready to do some beta testing of it for people.
Link's already up on Facebook.
Okay.
Yep. And I have the link directly to his website, too.
Okay, so that's a public beta for everybody to join in?
Here's speak, posted on Facebook.
Okay, and is that both the CoCo 3 version and the CoCo PSG, CoCo VJ, or does he mention?
It mentions both. There's just one disk image.
Okay. So it's good to see that that's progressing quite well, and probably will get released sometime in January at the rate he's going, assuming there's no major problems with the beta test. So everybody who's got a CoCo 3 or CoCo VJ, go get the download. Mark can post it. Actually, already did in the chat there, so that
in case you don't have Facebook, there's the direct link to it. So
yeah. Okay, thanks. Next up, we got a couple of Jim Gerrie updates for over the holidays. So the first one here, this is an existing game called Demon Attack we've shown before, written by Charles Pelosi. Now, what Jim's doing here is he's actually running it through Greg Dion's basic compiler to speed it up a little bit, and this is a result of that. So it is definitely playing a little bit faster with some decent animations, etc. So I'll just show a little bit of that running. And once again, using SemiGraphics 4. I'd have to actually load up the original to see what the original speed was like, but I do remember it was a fair bit slower than this in the plain basic version. So that compiler definitely helps. I was going to wait till he actually kills one of these here. So that was the first one from Jim. And then another one he's doing here is called Tank Search and Capture. And this is actually from a book called Advanced Graphics for TRS-80, which I'm not sure if that's for the Model 1.3 or if that was for a CoCo book. And this actually includes head-to-head play between him and his son, Charlie. And he actually put a little challenge in the description if you can guess which color tank is him and which color tank is his son. I'll run a little bit of that here. I can imagine trying to play this two people with multiple keys on the MC10 keyboard. That should be fun. It's going to be a bit cramped. And he's using, I think Steve had mentioned this the last time we saw one of the videos that Jim had done, where he's using the SemiGraphics 6. You can get a little bit of extra resolution, but it limits the number of colors. But then you can also mix these text bars where you can get these, vertical stripes in a higher res than you would normally see. Like the timer at the top there, you can kind of see it has a little bar effect type thing. Just a bit of an innovative use of using that. So, well, it looks pretty cool. Rotating tanks and stuff. I mean, obviously rendered pretty low res, but. Next up from Jim, we also have, he's been working on Taz's Dropship game, which we've shown before. Now, the current version of Taz's game, and we've shown Dropship on before, it's actually a pretty intricate game. There's some arcade elements, there's wandering around a maze elements, there's a few different things to do in it. It's a fairly extensive game. But as it currently stands, it currently requires one of the upgraded basics for the MC10, like the MCX128 or the MSXDC or something like that, 32. But it requires that extended basic that's been added onto it. And what Jim's trying to do here, he's trying to backport it to be able to run on the original MC10 color basic. You'll still need a RAM upgrade, but you won't need the enhanced ROMs. So this is a work in progress video. He's not quite done it yet, but it seems to be going pretty good so far. Anyway, from the looks of it here, he's succeeding. He's got most of the game elements are in here already from the original game without requiring the extended basics. So this will allow this program to be ran on some MC10s that just have the standard Tandy, 16K RAM pack upgrade versus some of the more modern ones. So people that want to stay truly retro will soon be able to play Dropship, which is awesome. And for those interested in what he's doing, he's actually got on his GitHub the entire source code to his version of Dropship here for Microcolor Basic. There's even some Christmas stuff in there too he threw in, which I haven't had a chance to look at yet, but feel free to go grab it off of his GitHub. Next up, and this is also the MC10 related. So this is a Frogger game that's also made in Japan. Now this is originally, there was a machine called the Gakken Compact Vision TV Boy, and boy, that's a mouthful. And it was a rather unsuccessful game platform in Japan with really bizarre joystick controls. It looked like if you've seen airplanes, with the stick that they grab with the one hand, it's kind of a grip thing to move, the throttle up and down. That's the type of game controller this thing had, and it was built into the console itself. So you couldn't just hold the joystick by itself. There was a whole console. And it was a VDG based chip, so it's using the same graphics chip as the CoCo and the MC10 did. The CPU, I believe, was different though, and it was very unsuccessful. I think it only had 6 games released officially for it at the time, and then it was too late. It was actually like the MC10 from Tandy in that way. It could just, it was a little too late for the market. It was meant to be a cheap one, but right when it was coming out, an even cheaper but more powerful console came out, so it just kind of died on the vine type thing. But one of the games they actually had was the official port of Frogger, with the graphics already pre-rendered and stuff. This guy has actually been working on porting this version of Frogger to the MC10 itself. And this is a screenshot of it actually running an MC10 emulator as far as he's gotten so far. And he's got a few screenshots from it here you can see here. And he's actually got some of the source code for the 6803 listed here. So he's kind of goes through and explains, and it's kind of a project ongoing blog explaining exactly what he's doing. It's in Japanese. So if you natively know Japanese, you'll be able to read it a lot easier without having to run through a translator. Obviously, the source code's in 6803 mnemonics, so it's fine. But it's another project that's in progress of another machine language ported game to the MC10, which you had a few of. In fact, there's another new one of those I'll be coming later on the news as well. So there's a whole plethora. I mean, the number of machine language games for the MC10 in the last 6 months has probably doubled or more from what they had the entire run of the machine from 83 till now. So it's interesting seeing all this flurry of activity on there. And plus now we've got the basic compiler by Greg Dion, which means if you don't learn 6803, you can still write much faster games than you could have before, even in basic. And of course, now with the SDX32 and the MCX128, you've got more memory to play with. You've actually got an extended basic, which has some built-in, high-res PMode 0 and 1 commands and stuff you can do too. So there's a lot of new opportunities for the MC10 as far as programming goes, and especially on the game front, it seems there's quite a bit of stuff coming out. So good to see all that happening. And here's a little video demo of it running on the MC10. So this is, like I said, it's a work in progress. So no sound at this point. And just very brief, just to show that he's kind of got the engine starting to work basically at this point. Next up, Chris Hawkins of Chris's Retro Corner. Now, we covered last time 2 weeks ago, he was doing his 10-day Christmas countdown because he just got a dragon as a gift from his wife. And then he had started doing this video series, and I guess he does this every Christmas with a different system where he picks just 10 games, from suggestions or things that looked interesting to him. And he decided to do that for the dragon this year. And we've covered a few of them previously. So since the last episode of CoCo Talk, he's done games 3 to 10, which is Leggett, Devil Assault, Cosmic Crusaders, Planet Invasion, Flag and Bird, Shock Trooper, Dungeon Raid, and Airball. And then he threw an 11th episode, which is the Dragon Pepper demo that I think we showed last year, the year before. It's a semi-graphics, the demo scene in Europe type thing, showing off some graphic techniques and stuff you don't normally see. Now, I won't go through and play a lot of these here, just because there's quite a few of them, and they're 5 to 10 minutes long each. Is there any particular one wants to see, or should I just go on to the next story and let you guys watch them offline on your own?
And we'll watch them offline.
Okay. Next up after that, now this is something I'd never thought I would say in the same sentence. James Jones, who's famous for a lot of his work in OS 9, and he's a big proponent of Basic 9, etc., and a game writing thing. That James is not known for writing games or even playing them that much. But there was a thing published on Facebook a couple weeks ago about a 1K ZX81 basic game that was an invader, Space Invader type game with one invader. And this is the entire listing from the original magazine there. And a lot of people in the CoCo community had started working on making semi-graphics versions of it for the CoCo and the MC10 as well. We showed that last episode as well. And James decided to take it and actually convert to Basic 9. Now, Basic 9 is a little bit more wordy. So I wouldn't say it fits in 1K anymore at this point, but he actually goes through a whole blog of how he converted the original code you can see here. And he goes into some of the differences you would do in Basic 9, like the fact you don't need line numbers for every single line type thing. So he kind of goes and breaks it down as he progresses through it. Demunging it, changing it for different things that Basic 9 supports that regular Microsoft Basic does not, and just keeps on going down. Starts doing like type procedures. He actually creates some procedures to do certain things in here. He's doing complex type things just to make it easier to add on it. He mentions he creates the object thing, and all you have to do is just dim that object with a bigger number, and then you can add more invaders to it. And because Basic 9 is an integer-based, or has integer-based variables as well, you probably could, for the same amount of speed, easily fit like 5 or 6 invaders and not lose any speed at all. So, and he starts getting into stuff like loops and stuff that you don't normally see, exit if to get out of the loop, etc. He's got a few line numbers in there specifically just to show that you can still do that. But obviously, it's a bit longer than the original version as it was, though it does have expandability built into it now too, which the original version did not. And then he has a couple, just procedures where he tries to throw in some stuff that you can actually call and use it in your own code or use it to enhance the game type thing. So it's a really nice blog kind of explaining how to convert a Microsoft Basic style program into Basic 9, which you can do as a straight through, leave the line numbers and just leave everything as it was just about. You might have to tweak a few things, but he actually goes through improving it. And what does he call it? He calls it Street Basic, I think is what he calls Microsoft Basic, because even the creators of Basic from the original 1968 version just are not a fan of the Microsoft one. Now, in defense of Microsoft and some of the others that made BASICs in the 70s, RAM was really limited, so they didn't really have the room to do other stuff. Because I mean, the original BASIC was developed on minis, which had a lot more resources to throw at it, type thing. I think that's part of the reason. Because when you're writing for an Altair or something with 1 or 2K of RAM, you don't really have a ton of room to do all the fancy stuff. So I kind of understand why they did that. But it is nice that he actually goes through this and shows you exactly how to convert a program. Fairly simple one, and a little game too, which, like I said, I never thought I'd see James doing, but it was really cool to see him do that. Next up, Pere Serrat, who's we mentioned last time, has started releasing basically every new AGD game. This is from the AGD engine from the Spectrum, converted over to the CoCo and the Dragon. And he's promised to have 9 packs of games to release weekly. And then since we've been 2 weeks since the previous episode, there's 2 more 6-packs out. So the first one here has Elon M, and then this Funky Fungus Reloaded, which actually is 5 separate chapters to the same game. So there's World 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the boss level. So there's some screenshots here he's posted on the World of Dragon forums. So here's the Elon M, and that's obviously Elon Musk. And Elon Musk, actually, we found out not too long ago, actually, he had been published as a teenager writing a game for a magazine when he was like 14 or something like that. So he's actually had some experience writing games for these older machines too. And then here's the Funky Fungus Reloaded. And then there's World 1. I don't know too much about the games yet because I've had a chance to play them. And then the various different levels, and I'll just skip down to the boss level. Some nice, integrated graphics here in the background too, some fairly detailed stuff. So that's the first pack that was released. And then the week after that, he released the next pack, pack number 44. So it has one that's very appropriate for modern times called Get the Vaccine. Then he's got a Gherkin's Christmas. He's got, I don't know how to pronounce it, Noni 2020. And then he's got another multi-stage game. It's Jetpack John and Jetpack Neo Demo and Slow. So it's a Jetpack. It's not Jetpack Willys. I think it's probably loosely based on that, is my guess. But like I said, I haven't played these yet. And screenshots of some of those. So looks like some fairly interesting gameplay. Obviously, it's based on the AGD engine. Yeah, kind of have to stick with its restrictions. But so both of these are available right now. You can get them on the World Dragon Archive forum. You can download them. They'll play on the Dragon or the CoCo 1 and 2 or 3. I don't think he's converted any of these yet for the Super Sprite FM Plus board, like he's done a few of the earlier AGD games. I think he's trying to get all these new ones that are, kind of came out since the last time he did the big batch. Now, for those of you that have not played any of these before or are new to these and didn't know that these existed, instead of having to go through the forums and trying to find all 44 packs in individual things, one thing Pere has done in the past and is doing again this time around is that every month, if he's releasing new ones, he will actually have a cumulative download that has every single thing up to the end of that month. So if you want to get all 44 packs in one shot, you can get that now too. And he calls them the big pack. So this is version 2.7, which currently with these new ones here that just been added, it's got 249 games on it. So lots of new games to play. So Ken, we were talking about possibly trying to spotlight one of these maybe later as a game on challenge. So he's still got a few weeks left to more of these packs, and he'll have more of these monthly big ones. So if you want to wait till he's finished releasing all the updated ones, maybe download the big pack, and then we can have a few people go through different chunks of them, maybe select a couple of games to pick as a challenge.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, next about that, Paul Shoemaker. He's doing a new version of Poker Squares specifically for the Dragon, because of course they don't have artifact colors, and the CoCo 1.2 version currently requires artifact colors to be, nice on the eyes. And he's also done a CoCo VJ version. Now the CoCo VJ does work in the Dragon, but it's a bit more involved to get it to fit properly on the Dragon, so it's not a super common upgrade at this point. So he's making a new version for the Dragon specifically using their built-in color set. So I'll show a little bit of that, with some good music in the background and stuff too. And he's actually got a version of this available for testing now. You can download on Facebook as well. Their instructions, the scoring, some animations. Actually, I think he did a pretty good job, considering he's running in P mode 1. The 4 colors that we're kind of stuck with in this mode. Yeah, well, we've seen the game before, so I won't play the whole thing, but it's a really nice version. And like I said, he's already got the a version for you to download to try out yourself, which is on Facebook in the file section. For those of you that are not on Facebook, I guess we're going to have to kind of maybe encourage him if he hasn't already thrown it on the archive. I've been on the archive in the last couple of days, so I don't know, maybe it's already there. I don't know if anybody else has noticed. And sometimes Gwyn gets kind of busy, and it might take him up to a week to approve stuff to get on the archive anyway. But if you are on Facebook, you can go download it right now and give it a shot. Give him some feedback too if you're on Facebook as well, if you found any bugs or any suggestions, etc.
So when he says it's a Dragon version, does it have a Dragon keyboard as well, or?
I would assume so.
So the Dragon version won't work on a CoCo, in other words.
Well, it will, but not with the same keys. Or maybe he has an option that you can load it there. I think he kind of basically figures that most people on the CoCo 1 and 2 will play the P Mode 4 artifact graphic version of it. But yeah, that's a good point for people in Australia that are running PAL CoCo still.
Yeah.
There's a suggestion, actually. Nick, you're on Facebook. You can send him a suggestion about that too. Then maybe just have it so that there's some keys that are common. So if he picks one of those and just say, hit this if you have a Dragon, hit this if you have a CoCo, or maybe auto-recognize the ROMs, you can just adjust the code.
Is it a basic program or machine language?
I believe it's at least partly machine language. I think it might all be machine language. I'm not sure.
All right.
I haven't actually downloaded the disc to take a look.
He could probably just have 2 options at the start.
Yeah, just load
boot up. Yeah,
or just you pick one, call it P square 4D for Dragon and C for CoCo or something like that. Yeah, because some people with PAL-based CoCos might want to try it, without having to worry about not having artifact colors. Now, Nick, you probably know this better than I do. For modern TVs, do they actually show artifact colors even if you're in PAL? Or is it still?
No, they don't.
Still comes up black and white? Okay.
The TVs will do NTSC, but the CoCo, of course, doesn't. A PAL CoCo doesn't.
Generate them. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Next up, we have an update from Paul Thayer on CoCoBon, and he's been doing kind of regular video blogs on this, and this is the 5th one in this series, and he covers a couple things here. So it's 3 minutes. I'll probably play most of it myself here, just so you guys can get it caught up, because I can't remember what all he added here was testing. And also it shows some of the gameplay too.
Hello.
So.
How's everybody doing? Hope you guys are doing well. I wanted to do another progress blog. I have been working on implementing an explosion emitter for way too long. Took me a little while to figure out some things. I still a couple of more tweaks that I think I would like to make if time permits, but it's working good enough as is. One of the things that I wanted to do was grab a random trajectory hypotenuse out of, a 256 byte angle table to kind of add some more randomness to the directions of emission. But right now, basically, it's choosing any one of 16 directions to travel in. And I hard-coded in the X and Y offsets that would be added to the current location of the explosion on the screen. And then it would, restore backgrounds and, and draw the new explosion where it needs to be. It looks okay. I think it looks really good, actually. I just think it would be a little bit more realistic or add a little bit more variety if I actually chose like a random hypotenuse from more than 16 choices. So we'll go into that and show you the progress that's been made. So we have these death tiles just above where my guy is here, and it gets set to a skull after I go on to them. And if I go back, step back on it, I will explode and the level will restart. pretty quick. Not too bad though. I'm liking the results so far. And that was it. So the next thing that I need to do is start working on some of the other things that are going to be happening here. So hitting the R button to restart the level. Right now it just fades out, but it should explode you and then fade out and restart. That's going to be pretty easy to implement. Pressing X takes you back to the main menu. I would like to have an explosion with that, I think. And then from there, the next thing that I want to do is have the lasers emit out of these objects that you see right here. But I discovered another issue that I have while I was implementing the explosions that I need to fix before I do anything with lasers. There is a development progress blog for you.
Anyway, so he's making good progress on it. I do like his explosion routine. It does look good. And the fact that it's somewhat randomized, so it's not just a fixed explosion, the exact same every time. That's kind of cool. The game is looking good. I'm really looking forward to seeing it finished. It's for Sloopy, who's a fan of puzzle games. Here's another one for you coming up. Next up after that, now we had Karen on last week to kind of demo or last show, I should say, to demo this for us, which is the GMC version, the cartridge version with the GMC sound hardware of Blockdown, which is a modern Tetris clone done in sort of the higher semi-graphics type mode. So it looks really good on a CoCo 1, 2, or 3 or Dragon. And Neil announced that he's now selling the cartridge, and you can see pictures up here, which I'll zoom up in a second. Now to order this, it's $40 plus shipping. You can get it in translucent or black cartridge cases while quantities last. And if you want to buy a copy of it, you email him at neil@cococrew.org. I'll zoom up this one here so you can kind of see what the manual looks like. And I believe Tim Linder designed the program pack box here. And then, of course, the cartridge itself as well. So if you're a huge Tetris fan and you want like background music and everything else that we showed when Kieran was so kind to demo it with us here last show, it's now available. You can go buy it. It'll run on Dragons or CoCos. And it's a very, very good implementation of Tetris with a lot of the more modern Tetris bits added into it. So it's unlike the classic ones. We have a bunch, including the official one back from the 80s and early 90s. This one has some of the more modern gameplay functionality in it. So it feels much more like a modern Tetris. Next up, Tim Lindner, speaking of, has been doing this ongoing series called Sibling Rivalry. He plays against his sister, AJ, and they choose games on various platforms that go head-to-head. So they're playing against each other. It's not a take turns type of thing. And the latest episode they did here is actually based on Pit Stop 2. And this is one of the few times where AJ was actually in the lead, but Tim didn't explain to her how pit stops work.
Time again for another sibling rivalry.
It seems like just yesterday that we did the other one.
Not to me.
So at any rate, he didn't quite explain. Like he basically said at the beginning of the video, because I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's 15 minutes. It's fun. It's a lot of fun watching it. But basically, he explained that there is pit stops in here that you can go change your tires and refuel and stuff. But we won't need to do it this game because we're only playing a 3-lap game, and you can get through with fuel. And unless you do really bad on your tires, you should be able to make it through without having to make a pit stop at all. But he didn't explain to her how to go into a pit stop. So she did by accident while she was in the lead, legitimately in the lead. I think at the end of the second lap, she accidentally went into the pit stop, and then she had to kind of figure out scrambling. How do I get out of the pit stop because I don't need new tires, I don't need new fuel. And by that time, Tim passed her, and then he won the game. So then she was asking people to weigh in. Do you think that Tim cheated a little bit there by not explaining this to? And it was kind of fun reading the comments here, but it's a fun game. I don't know how many people here play Pit Stop 2, but it's actually one of my favorite racing games.
Woo! Oh, get out of my way. Oh, see how I just avoided that guy? Because that's how good I am. I'm like, oh, out of his way. Boop, boop. Just past another guy.
And she has her own sound effects, I should mention.
I'm on fire. Ooh, out of his way.
You're so far ahead of me. Oh my gosh.
Needs a sound chip there.
Yeah.
I'm winning.
But she's on the top on the particular screen, and she's a fair bit ahead of Tim. The cool thing about this game is that you're playing against computer players, and you're also playing against each other. So you can run each other off the road. You can purposely ram them in so they're running on the edge of the road there and wear their tires down, but you wear down your own tires that you're rubbing up against their car. So it can be a bit of a suicide rush if you're not careful. So there's a lot of interactivity. Plus, you have to deal with the computer players like slowing down and changing lanes and blocking you off. Sometimes they'll just shift over and block you right as the other human player comes zipping up the side and actually passes both of you type thing. So it's actually a lot of fun interactive-wise. This is a game that it's okay as a single-player game. I think both, I don't know if he's still on the call here, but he and Aaron reviewed it. And as a single-player game, it's okay. It's like a poor man's pole position type thing. But 2 players is where this game shines. And to me personally, if you play it 2 players with at least 6 laps, if not the full 9, and you can even do the Grand Circuit where you go through all 6 courses, where you have to do pit stops, you have to refuel. So you have to start choosing, when do you do that? Do I risk going 1 more lap to get further ahead of my other human player that might have pulled in the pits right now to get gas? But I have tire damage that's pretty bad, but as long as I avoid running into things, I might be able to make it through. So this is actually one of my favorite car racing games on the CoCo period. On 1, 2, or 3 doesn't matter. But it is definitely a big jump up in quality and fun with 2 human players. This is one I would like to see people do at the fest, maybe as a little live thing in some corner, and just have people step up and join in for a 6-lap game or something like that, just to kind of get a feel for it if you've never played the game before. Has anybody here on the panel played Pit Stop 2 fairly regular, or played against other human players?
I love this game. Wouldn't it be great on a CoCo 3 with explosions?
Yeah, or background sound that doesn't slow it down.
The only thing disappointing with the game was it's just, the dots got bigger on your tire and then you died.
Yeah, it just throws you onto the side. You get a solid white bar, and you're out of the race, and the other guy keeps going.
It could use more drama, but other than that, I love this game. It was the one you got your friends to play, so you could show them your computer was cool. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I have to agree. Did you play against a human player too, Rick, or were you having to play?
Well, yeah, this is one of the ones I would pull out when my buddies came over, and I wanted to show them we had cool games on my, computer of choice. So, 2-player game was bonus because
Yeah, it's a whole other level of fun to me when it's 2 players. It's okay as a single player, but it's way more fun when you actually have that rivalry going on, and you're literally trying to run each other off the road. Or the other favorite move I did is if the guy did not want to go in the pit stop, say he's just ending the first lap, starting the second, and you could literally ram him into the pit stop, so suddenly he has to take the time to move the steering wheel onto the driver and get him back out in the pits. In the meantime, you're zipping way ahead, so it's a lot of fun.
I didn't think of that one.
Yeah. I've seen a few thrown joysticks at this one. I have to admit, people getting mad from getting run into the pits and you bugger and throw the joystick at you type thing.
How many joysticks have you had thrown at you, Curtis?
Well, it depends. If the same joystick is thrown at you multiple times over the years, does that count as one or more than one?
Each occurrence counts as one.
Oh, then I've definitely had it more than once.
And
several different people.
It's probably good. I grew up back in the days of televisions with the blast screen on the front. So when you whacked it with the joystick, all you did was crack the joystick.
Anyway, this is a really fun series. You can tell that the siblings, while they're definitely heavy-duty rivalry going on, whatever game they play, they're having a hell of a lot of fun doing it. So it's kind of infectious to watch. It's a nice, pleasant distraction. They released this one on Christmas Day too. So for me, at the later end of the Christmas Day, is when I first watched it. It was a nice, mood lifter. It was just fun. Now, this one here is a Spanish channel that I've not seen before. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Lardu? I'll scroll up here. No. And here they did a review of Dino Wars, which is not something I thought I'd see too often. And judging by the graphics they got here, I'm guessing that this might be like a dinosaur theme.
Hola, ¿cómo están a todos? Y bienvenidos a mi canal. Mi nombre es Lardeus y hoy vamos a jugar Dino Wars. Y también vamos a explicar un poco sobre.
I like that the auto interpreter can interpret it as Wine Wars.
Lo que me llama la atención de este juego es que es un juego de acción. Y en el momento en que colocamos la pantalla de juego, vemos a dos dinosaurios que están caminando de un lado para otro.
Thank God for the translation.
Increíble. Dino Wars es un juego de acción rápido al estilo arcade, donde los dos jugadores...
Anyway, he does kind of a review and kind of talks about the gameplay and stuff and how, especially how it compared with other games from this early on.
Lo mismo ocurre si a mí me hacen
so for any of our Spanish viewers out here, because obviously the auto translate's not perfect because it thinks it's called Wine Wars, which does sound like an interesting game, but I probably want to play that in real life, not on a computer. But this is, of course, the game that kind of divides the community because there's a lot of people who absolutely hate the thing, and the Dino Wars cartridge was just a place you can get an extra case from. And then there's others, like especially younger kids, that just love the game and still play it now. You could show them a PlayStation 5 and they still want to play this. So it's a rather unique game and good 3D effects, etc. But a lot of fun to see that at another Spanish site because we've featured a few of them lately here playing some of the CoCo games, getting into this kind of stuff. And next up, the Japanese site that's been doing a lot of these MC10 and CoCo ports amongst a whole variety of other systems has now got another one called Lift Out. And both the MC10 version and the CoCo version have been released. So I'm not going to play videos from both of them, even though they're quite short. Did you guys want to see the MC10 one or the CoCo version? I think it's P Mode 1 and P Mode 3 basically is the main difference. So I'll let you guys on the panel pick which version.
MC10.
MC10. So a bit of a platform. You got some elevators that you get to ride up and down. Flags you have to get. They kind of had a bit of a lull here because they actually cranked out like 6 games in a span of like a month. And then there was a bit of a break and now another one's come out. So I don't know if we're still going to be getting more and more as this goes on, which is really cool. But once again, we're getting more machine language MC10 games. And of course, they're making CoCo versions, slightly higher res CoCo and Dragon that you can play as well. So, and the WAV files here available for download. You can run them emulators. You can run them on the real thing. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out on this channel here because they keep cranking out new stuff. And it's kind of nice to see all this new development happening, especially for the MC10. And that's the end of the Game On news portion.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you want a commercial break before I hit the news? Because there's a fair bit of news.
All right. Let's do let me find the right mouse here. All right. There we go. Let's do a commercial break.
Hey there, it's Andrew here with the Tandy speech and sound cartridge that I won from CoCoTALK Live. So next time, make sure to tune in. It may change your life.
We'll return after these announcements.
CoCo 2's got personality, lots of practicality, fun, it's sensational, learn it's educational. CoCo 2's expandable, so easily commandable. It's programmable, so term exam grammable. Just you and CoCo 2 do what you want to do.
CoCo 2, the color computer with personality from Radio Shack. Sale price for Christmas giving from $149.95.
Radio Shack's CoCo 2, do what you want to do. Just you and CoCo 2.
What's going on, everybody? The Original Gamer Stevie Stroh here, and I want to talk to you about I'mACoconut.com. If you love the color computer like I love the color computer, then you got to visit I'mACoconut.com, your one-stop shop for all of your Tandy color computer links needs. There you'll find links to blogs and podcasts and project sites and emulators and downloads and groups and communities. If you love the color computer, head on over to I'mACoconut.com. That's IMACoconut.com. Tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you. CoCo forever, people.
Switcheroo. Use your CoCo with a modern display. Go from RGB to composite with just the flip of a switch. CoCo3ScartCable.com.
Hi, this is Antonio Jimenez, author of such projects such as the Stevie Throw Devil and the SD Pack, and you are watching CoCoTALK in 3, 2, go.
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And now a Muppet News Flash.
Okay, take it away, Curtis.
Okie dokie. You guys are seeing Glenn's weblog?
Yes.
Okay. So Glen Hewlett, of course, is working on Robotron 2084 transcode, or whatever you want to call it. I know it's technically, some people don't think it's transcode. I'll call it that just because it's an easier basket to loop these games in, where you're translating from the original arcade hardware. So he did a couple things here. He did a blog posting here on a couple of techniques. One has actually been being used for quite a while. I know Nick's done this, and I know Bill and I used to use this in Nitrous 9 development too, where you change the border color to be able to tell, either how much CPU time is happening. In the case of some of the Nitrous 9 development, Bill and I would change the border color to different colors depending on which routine it was in. So if something got stuck in an infinite loop, we could figure out where did it go off the rails. But most people these days use it for, changing the border color so that once you've got an interrupt, you can tell it'll cut off the border color change. At that point, you can see how much CPU time is being used. It's used a lot of times for like background sound, like how much is that taking up CPU time, etc. In fact, you saw in the Paul Thayer video when we were going through CoCoBon, he was actually using that with the red border. You could see how much CPU time he was using. And of course, each refresh is 60 hertz on NTSC or 50 hertz on PAL, so 60 or 50 times per second. So I guess Glenn had not seen that before and hadn't really thought about doing that. So he saw Simon Jonassen post some code that had that built in too. So now he's using that same technique too. And he's also did some 3D stuff here. Simon had shown off, I think we showed in the last episode, some 3D dot rendering that he was doing here. So he's got kind of a blog post on that as well. So he decided to do his own here as well. So he did this little Star Wars thing. He's got a rotating Death Star using 3D plot mapping with a routine that's a little more optimized than Simon's original version was. And he kind of does some technical explanation, which I'm not going to go into detail here. You guys can read the blog post for that. But just to show you what that looks like. And you can see the blue bars there for the animation. He's using a little over half the CPU time to do this animation. And it's actually literally redrawing. This is not page flipping or anything. This is literally redrawing the dots of the 3D shape and rotating them around and erasing and redrawing them as it goes type thing. So, and he's not using, he's maybe using 60% of the CPU time right now. So that's a pretty decent little demo because he's got quite a few dots there, 727 pixels getting individually drawn and erased each time. So I thought that was kind of cool. And it was cool that he actually, I didn't realize he didn't know about the border color trick for measuring IRQ response time. Next up, we already played this. I won't play it again, but basically it was Terry Steggy's promotion for CoCoFest 2022. Terry, if you're on here, did you want to give any details on either the event itself, or did you want to mention how you maybe made the advertisement? Is he still on the call? Oh, maybe he's not. Never mind. I don't think he's on right now. Anyway, May 2022. So hopefully a bunch of us will be able to make it. Hopefully Omicron will die down by then. Next up, we have an update to the Turbo 09 project. Now, we featured this before quite a few months ago, I think now. This is a couple of people in Florida that are working on a 6809 based CPU replacement with a lot of additional features, a lot of speed increases using pipelining and some other more modern technologies. And this is a video where they're kind of doing an update on it. And they've actually got some people joining in on this now too. So they got the main two people, Kevin Phillipson and Michael Rywald, and the committee that's kind of seeing, because this is a university-based project. But Boise, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but basically they've kind of joined in to be part of the testing suite. So they're writing some of the test code so they can make sure that the 6809 compatible core is working and also the new functions they've been adding to it, but also to do benchmarking between this and the original 6809 itself, And they're also comparing it with some other rivals to this. These are basically to do for lower end 8 and 16-bit systems to have an FPGA style core based on the 6809 instruction set, and then comparing with some stuff that's been done on ARM and a few other things here too. So it's a pretty lengthy presentation. It's 40 minutes long. I'm definitely not going to play the whole thing. But there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. They got some charts explaining the different speed differences between them. They're comparing a couple different C compilers, et cetera, and some assemblers that they use to generate some of the test code. But the project's actually going along pretty well, and it's actually pretty competitive with some of these other, ARM-based solutions, et cetera, and some other ones that are also available too. And these are specifically geared for ones that want to interface with 8 or 16-bit buses. Like you can definitely go faster and just run ARM native at 32 or 64 bits just fine. This would be not that useful in that particular case. But if you need it for something that needs a reduced hardware, this actually looks like a pretty competitive solution. And they're still actively working on it, obviously. And if they keep cranking it out here, because they said they're not done optimizing yet. They're not done optimizing the C compiler. They're not done optimizing the core. And they're adding, some of the 639 style functions like, hardware divide and possibly the block memory moves and some other things too. So it's actually going to be enhanced even somewhat beyond the 639 in some cases. I don't know if they're doing all the bit commands and stuff like that, but it looks like a pretty interesting solution for this kind of a thing. I don't believe, now they can correct me if I'm wrong, or Boise, if he's listening, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe this actually will be a thing you can just plug into a 689 socket and run. So if you wanted to interface this with an actual CoCo, I'm sure there's some little bit of dicking around, maybe a satellite board might be able to do it. But the speed comparisons they do, first of all, you can clock this thing a lot higher. You can clock this up to like 80, 90 megahertz easily. But also, currently with the pipelining technology and stuff they built in, it'll run faster even at existing 6809 speeds or 609 speeds, like 1, 2, or 3 megahertz. It'll run faster at that same megahertz rating than the original chip does. So this is an accelerator if they do get it to run in a 6809 socket. So that's another opportunity for some, maybe expanding the CoCo to go beyond, because this doesn't require you to change the bus speed of the CoCo and all the other support chips. Like right now, you might want to do a turbo thing like Sockmaster did. You have to like kind of sneak in cycles here and there. You have to slow it down for I/O when you're talking to a PIA or whatever else. And this here, because the CPU itself, the core is running faster, but the external bus is not, means you get the speed increases without having to dick around with all the special timing and all this other stuff. So you actually can run some faster code. I think they were showing some of the speed increases are like 50 to 100% over the original right now, just flat out through. So if, for example, if you had the Gimme X and you put in a 3 megahertz 639, you'd have to run 689 because it's not 639 compatible at this point. But if it ran at 3 megahertz there, or 2.86 to be technical, then technically you could probably get close to double that performance and actually run it as if you're running a 5 megahertz 6809. So there's some pretty cool opportunities here. And also, if you're into designing hardware for 8 and 16-bit bus hardware, then this is definitely a solution that if you're used to programming the 609, well, this is a 609 with enhancements, so no relearning required. Really interesting project, though. I'm really glad they're still pursuing it and continuing on. Next up, Allen Huffman, who's been busy as usual. So he first entry from Allen here is his blog at Submit the Software, tackling the Logicker Vintage Computing Challenge. We showed that 2 weeks ago with had some entries from Jim Gerrie Knows. This was to basically write code as small as possible to make this, Christmas tree thing. So he kind of goes through some different alternatives that he came up with, and how much size it takes, 386 bytes just to do raw prints. And then he starts figuring out, I can use tab. Well, then I don't have to do all the spacing up to there. So that shrinks it down. And then you start doing pattern matching because you've got some duplicate patterns. So you can just make strings of each, et cetera. And he keeps going down and crunching it and crunching it and crunching it. So it's kind of a progressive, getting the code down as small as possible. Like we started at 86 bytes, I think, the first one. Yeah, 386 bytes. And, by the end here, he's getting 97, 66, et cetera. So quite the crunch. And then he's done a couple more YouTube videos. Now, this is something he's been doing where he picks a certain subject matter and then he does multiple videos on it, expanding on whatever the subject matter was. So lately, he's been doing stuff on how to check bits, individual bits of a byte in BASIC. And his first one we did a couple weeks or three or 4 weeks ago, I think, he showed you using the powers of 2 using the exponent, the up arrow, command in BASIC, which works, and it's really easy to understand. You go, 2 to the power of 3 for the third bit. But it's incredibly slow if you're going to actually use this in a program type thing. So then he did another video showing you how to tableize and make it run a lot faster. So he's got 2 new videos this time. So the first one here, and like I said, I won't play these, goes basically how to figure out clearing multiple bits, etc. And that he showed in previous episodes, how to clear and set multiple bits at a time using some basic code. I won't play anything of that one because that's pretty self-explanatory. This one here is where he's kind of going to get a bit more advanced. So now he's doing bit shifts and stuff in BASIC. And of course, if you're going to be manipulating like graphic shapes or certain things, you'll want to be shifting and rotating bits through as opposed to just setting them on and off. So that's what he's getting into in this particular lesson here. So if you want to learn stuff dealing with bits and bytes without having to learn machine language first, which is normally where most people would start learning this kind of thing, because you start doing logical shifts, arithmetic shifts, rotates, etc. Ors, ands, etc. You can actually kind of get your feet wet here in the basic side, so it's a bit easier to understand for people coming from the basic side of things. And that'll actually get you a bit of a head start for learning to do it in machine language, which obviously you can do way faster than you can do basic, no matter which way Alan picks. So these are good tutorial videos, and I'm glad he's keeping these going as well. This one here, 48K RAM, and I'm spacing his real name. My apologies to him, but he's a Twitch guy that's actually one of the Amigos people, and he has his own channel and he does these live streams on various platforms. And he actually owns a CoCo 3, 120K, and he's got one of the red case SDCs you can see here. So one of the specials he did here almost 2 weeks ago is he decided to do an 8-bit Christmas party. So he's showing like 8-bit demos and maybe even some 8-bit games that are all have Christmas themes. And he did on multiple platforms. Like he's originally an Atari 8-bit guy. And then he showed off some other stuff like Spectrum, et cetera, too. And he actually did some stuff on the CoCo here as well. And he was kind of learning things as he went along because he hadn't used the CoCo in months. So he kind of forgot how the SDC worked and everything. So I won't play through to, how you share his pain. But I will mention that one of the things he did demo was the Christmas advertisement demo that Tandy did. So Tandy, for the CoCo 3, did 2 official demos that I know of. One was the original one, which has the crane and stuff hauling the CoCo 3 and adding the multi-pack. And then it shows you like a scene from inside of a living room of a house. And you can see out the street, there's a guy walking his dog. And then the dog breaks free and runs off. And the guy goes chasing it. Meanwhile, it's showing you Deskmate on a little CoCo screen. So that's the original demo, which he does show on here as well. But there's also a special Christmas demo, which is basically showing the assembly line with elves, hauling CoCos that they've just made off of an assembly line, loading them onto Radio Shack trucks. You get to drive across, a mountainscape with a bunch of trees and stuff, and then drop them off at the Radio Shack store, etc. So it's a really fun demo that I think Spectral did for Tandy back in '87. I think it was Christmas '87. I don't think it was for the first '86 one, but he goes through a few other things too, like some Christmas songs, etc. too. So it was nice seeing a variety of stuff, and he was restricting it specifically to 8-bit. It was kind of funny because he does do some 16-bit stuff like Atari ST, Amiga, etc. stuff, and some of the people in the request and the chat, because they're used to his channel covering 8 and 16 bits. And he said, nope, this is specifically an 8-bit Christmas party. We're not allowing any 16-bit machines here. So you won't see the Amiga or Atari ST or the higher machines. You'll see Spectrums and CoCos and Atari 8-bits, etc. Since Christmas is already over, I won't bother playing any of this, but if you guys want to check it out, it's pretty cool. The CoCo stuff starts roughly about 51 minutes in, and then it lasts maybe about 45 minutes to an hour, and then it kicks on to the next 8-bit system. Next one here, I will play a bit of this one. So AC's 8-bit Zone. He's been doing this little series on YouTube lately with doing sprites. And he's been demonstrating software sprites so far. And of course, he's working on a hardware sprite board based on the FPGA. And he does a little demo here just to kind of show what it looks like. This isn't pushing the hardware to the limits or anything. I know some people were questioning about that in the comments. But basically, he does a little Pac-Man demo just because he already demoed a Pac-Man style engine running the software sprites. And this will work on the CoCo 1 and 2, so it doesn't require, CoCo 3. And it also has built-in sound, so you can actually do sound things. So here he does a little demo of what, early software sprites. This is Ghost Gobbler from like mid-'82. They tried to cram 16K, so they didn't even do page flipping, so it's like ORing and XORing them on the screen, so it's kind of flickery, but it works.
There was an early Pac-Man clone called Ghost Gobbler.
actually flickers worse than this on the real
It isn't even close to the actual game mechanics or graphics. But the game programmer had a lot to overcome.
So fast forward a little bit here. And this is the C64 version using some Sprite hardware.
I feel sure that it's using the Sprite hardware. The sprites are one color each. The colors are slightly muted, I think, compared to the Atari version.
Now, for the people that know the C64 hardware a lot better than I do, I believe the Sprite chip normally, there was two modes. There was a higher res mode that did only 2 colors, and there was a lower res mode that did 4. Is that right?
I think that's right, yeah.
Okay. So one thing he did not want to do on this Sprite board that he's working on is limited to 2 colors and a high res. So that's actually, I'll give you a bit of a spoiler. That's not going to be a limitation on the CoCo version.
Energy to make these videos. Please show your support by subscribing to the channel. Important feature is that Ghost Collision with Pac-Man is disabled right now, so he'll pass right through the ghosts.
So this is actually running on his hardware Sprite board, and the sound effects are being done by the same
new
board.
Hardware. In a later episode, we can talk about background scrolling, sound generation, and a new graphics mode that I'm contemplating.
But he has 4 color sprites in here, so you can actually do the full ghost type thing. And if you look here, I don't know if my arrow will show up on the stream here, but there's a little blue vertical bar on the bottom left. And that's basically the equivalent of that border color trick that Glen Hewlett was using and that Paul Thayer was using in earlier videos for testing out the amount of CPU time being used. This one isn't filling in the entire border. It basically does 100 pixels, I think, or something like that. And basically, the amount of blue is the amount of free time. So when it drops a little bit down, blackens out the top couple pixels, that means it's using a bit more CPU time. But basically, this gameplay demo here is basically barely using any. You can see it's only flickering a tiny little bit. Most of the time, it's free to do anything.
Possible? Well, the CoCo's video.
And basically what he's done is he's recreated the VDG and FPGA, and then he's adding enhancements, and he's got sound support and everything else here. So this will all be unloaded from the CPU. So this will be almost like a co-processor, kind of like the Super Sprite board that the Dragon people, John Whitworth, made. So we're getting a couple different solutions here too. And of course, he's going to have separate hardware for this and separate documentation, et cetera, here too. And here's a list of kind of what he's planning on having the support for.
Highest resolution and in 3 colors plus transparent. The palette itself has been updated to allow 16-bit colors. The palette can be reprogrammed with any 16 colors that you'd like with those 16-bit type of values.
So that basically means that the number of colors you can choose from on this will be, I'm not sure if it's signed 16-bit or unsigned, at least 32,768 colors, possibly 65,536. So it's giving you a super wide palette to choose from, which is higher than the first generation CoCo VGA. I think the later ones do 32K colors too, but 3 colors per sprite chosen independently. You can, of course, layer them, which ones sprites are going to be in front of others, et cetera, too. So hardware collision detection is not in there. Must use software. I don't know if that's something that he's just planning for the first generation or if he's maybe thinking of expanding that later. But even just, offloading all the drawing and all the sound generation is going to be a huge, you can do much more complex games when the CPU is not busy doing all this stuff. So definitely a good video to check out. He's actually been quite active on Discord lately, talking about this a bit too. So if you have any questions, just go ask Alan, AC's 8-Bit Zone, or leave comments on his YouTube video. And you can find the links in the news summary notes on our Discord. Next up, the next issue of CoCo Crew got released, episode number 79. So this has Neil's official announcement and his review of the new block down that we showed earlier, that you can order the cartridge GMC version with the background music, etc. That's cool. It's also got Boise covered something a little bit different here. He actually went back to some rather extensive reviews that Rainbow did of Elite Calc. Now, Elite Calc was part of a suite of stuff that Elite Software did. They also did games too, like Zaxxon and a few others. But Elite Calc was actually a fairly advanced spreadsheet for the time. And one thing Boise did not mention on it, but I remember because I had a few friends here that actually had this version of it. It actually had support for the 80 column cards that both Radio Shack and PBJ sold back in the early to mid 80s. So you could actually run this in a full 80 column card on CoCo, because running a spreadsheet on a 32 by 16 screen, let's be honest, is not the greatest experience. I think later versions of it actually supported some high-res stuff similar to Telewriter and VIP did as well. So that was a kind of an interesting one too. The host discussion was about getting projects funded by Patreon, GoFundMe, etc., and both the positives and the negatives to that. I basically agreed with what most of what they said there. I don't know if we're really making a discussion about it here, but basically, if the person doing the GoFundMe is doing it for legitimate reasons, like it's fairly expensive to get hardware to create something, or it's going to take a lot of time or whatever, then it's fine. Like we see this in every platform. I mean, it's used all over the place for all kinds of things, not even just computer related for that matter. But they kind of give you the caveat, like be wary. Like if it's somebody you've never heard of before and he goes, yeah, I've never done anything on a CoCo before, but I'm going to come in and I'm going to propose this super hyper hardware board and a software that I'm going to do there. Like make sure whatever way you're contributing isn't just going to take your money and they're going to disappear. And I do know there's been some people that have been burned by that kind of stuff in the past. So just be wary. I mean, that's with any of these GoFundMe, Patreon type things. But I think it is definitely something that is useful in the community, and not just ours, but every community. I mean, Amiga does this, the Mercedes do this, everybody does this. Just because there's sometimes you need some certain hardware or you need some certain, software help or whatever that you're going to need a little bit of cash. Like some people are really good developers, but they're not well off. And this is one way that they can actually pursue their dreams and get this hardware and software done without having to worry. Do I have to exchange? Having to buy a $500 piece of hardware to help make this dream come true versus eating this week. So I'm personally okay with them, but yeah, definitely be a little bit wary. Make sure you're not just some random new person shows up and promises you the world and all of a sudden disappears with your money type thing. The big one here though was actually John's technical discussion here, which he actually goes into what he calls a VLSI primer. Now, this was instigated by the fact that Roger Taylor, of course, has been doing his project. Ironically enough, a Patreon project. He's asking for money to help because it's expensive getting all the stuff done. But basically taking apart the gimme chip and figuring out the insides and how it works, etc. So one thing, like when we covered it a couple of weeks ago and a few weeks before that when he first started the project, I don't know a lot about chip level hardware. Like I'll be bluntly honest. And hopefully I made that clear at the time. But John has actually taken some college courses when he was in college about, doing some chip design and stuff. So he actually understands a lot better. So he gives you a primer on how this whole system works and what kind of things you might be able to expect to find out from Roger Taylor's project of taking apart the gimme layer by layer and taking the high-res photographs and figuring out how things work. So if anybody has more technical details on how this stuff works, but doesn't have that technical knowledge of working with that type of chip level stuff themselves, it's a really good talk. So I definitely want to promote that one particular segment in particular as being something, if you're interested in Roger Taylor's gimme, what do we call it, decompile project or whatever, it's definitely worth a listen. Next up, we have a couple links or posts here from Alfredo Santos. And now, for those of you who don't know, Alfredo has actually been a CoCo guy since way, way back when the CoCo 1 first came out, and he's been active in the community on CompuServe, et cetera, right from day one. For those of you that have read Boise and Bill's history book of the CoCo, the first version of a history book for the CoCo was a text file that Alfredo himself wrote, and it basically has the early history of the CoCo from 1980 right through till about 91 when he stopped writing it. And then he kind of disappeared out of the scene. He just rejoined in the last 6 months. So he's been going through his attic and finding all of his old CoCos and stuff, which is really cool here. So here's a couple of his CoCo 3s he dug out. You can see one with one of the original SIM upgrades from Cloud9 there in the upper left corner. I'm assuming he's got a couple different versions of the gimme here too as well. And then he's also got a second post he did here where he's actually digging out some of his original CoCo 1 stuff here. And one he mentioned in particular here is some notes that he'd written on one of them here. And he's got this original machine he bought on January 9th of 1981. Serial number 9385. I think this is a D-board 4K system. And then he's got a few others that he's also written down here. And he's actually got serial number 268, which is a really early one. And he's got some pictures of some of the ones he dug out of his act that he kind of forgot he even had. So this is the 4K CoCo. It's got the original, the older style RAM chips and the gold style Motorola chips here too for the PIAs and the CPU, et cetera, the ROM. This is close to what I had as my first one. I remember having those 4K RAM chips in my original D board, which is unfortunately long gone. not getting the greatest picture out of it, but it still works, which is cool. The original Color Basic 1.0, so this didn't even support 8-bit printers. This only supported 7-bit printers. And of course, the gold top chips that we were just talking about there too. These RAM chips actually have Tandy Corporation logos on them too, which I don't remember if mine did or not. It was kind of interesting. I didn't realize Tandy was directly involved in the RAM chips there. And then he dug up his first CoCo, which had a few upgrades over the years that he actually found in the attic, which he didn't realize he still had. And he's got an upgraded keyboard on here too. And it's not one of the ones I remember being a commercial product, so I'm not sure what version this is. It's not a Mark Data Products. It's not a
HAV.
Yeah, HAV. It's not a Keytronics. It's not in the other ones that I recognize. So here's a better picture of it here with the. And he's got something on this key here. I'm not quite sure what that says. It almost looks like a Model 1 keyboard, sort of. Because didn't they have the white enter key? Nick, you probably know better than I would, but didn't the Model 1 have the white enter key too?
Yes, it did.
And the surround is made with sticky paper, so.
Yeah, so maybe that is a Model 1 keyboard. I do know, like, Color Computer News back in '82 had published an article on how to put a Model 3 keyboard into a CoCo 1. You had to cut the crap out of the case to get it to fit, but it did work, and you actually got a working numeric keypad out of it.
Are those keys a bit grey? Dark grey?
No, they're dirty.
No, they're black. Well, the arrow keys and the shift are
arrows.
kind of a gray. Yeah. They're kind of a gray. Yeah.
Otherwise, it does look very Model 1 like, yeah. Like an early one.
Okay. So that might be, he didn't go into too many details of where the keyboard came from. He just mentioned he found it hidden away in his attic. That's not what I want to do. There's that same one you deconstructed there. Like looking at that layout of the key and basically how it's cut the plastic. Does that look like a Model 1, Nick?
It does. I'm looking at the PCB board that it's on actually.
Right.
Someone
hacked.
That actually looks just like the one that's in my D board. Let me go grab it.
Someone hacked the living out of that PCB board to fit it in there, didn't they?
You can see all the cuts for the posts and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking to see those other two holes that are drilled in there, if they're the ones that marry up with the Model 1 keyboard.
Oh, yeah, right by the down arrow key here and down below.
Yeah, I can't remember where the holes were on the PCB board.
I mean, to me, this is a typical early 1980 to 82 era CoCo, because everybody I knew who was anything into electronics hacked the crap out of these things. That was one thing we've talked about on the show before, where the earliest CoCo users were definitely the hardware hacker types. You can see all the mods. One, he's got probably a Model 1 keyboard here. He's upgraded a 64K RAM for a board that was only designed to 16K maximum. He's got, a rerouted switch here on the lower right corner. He's bodged the entire
the controller
board here. He's
CoCo
Thoughts, I should say, a whole bunch of mods.
By
Right, go ahead.
Samuel
Also,
Guy.
recognize that disc controller. Remember I showed off that disc controller?
Right, yeah, with the offset cable.
Yeah, and that one's the same. It's got a PCB board rather than an edge connector, than an actual IDC connector on it.
Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, so this is a typical early 80s hacked
One
to
of
the
those
max.
early homebrew controllers.
Programmers, bang,
Now, I wonder,
bang,
was
bang,
that some of,
bang.
there were a few controllers out for the CoCo before Tandy's even came out. Because remember, TSC and Flex and a few others were being sold well before Tandy even had a disc controller, so there's a few different versions out. I wonder if that's maybe one of those original designs. If this is that old.
I don't know. No, I think, well, my one came in after because Tandy's was too expensive.
I'm out of
So that looks similar to the keyboard I've got on display here.
Our feed on Twitch has gone over to play some games. Not sure
Sorry,
what
what?
happened. Well, I have Twitch on right now, and we're in a ad or something. Now we're a black screen.
Oh yeah, I'm getting black screen too.
Not sure
Sorry,
what
what?
happened. Well,
Let me see. Let me see if I can figure out what happened
I have
here.
Twitch on right now, and we're in a ad or something.
Still,
Yeah, but now they're saying
broadcasting.
Coco Thoughts is playing on YouTube right now. Oh yeah, I'm getting black screen too.
Not sure.
Sorry,
What
as far as I know, we're still broadcasting.
Yeah, but they're saying they're getting Coco Thoughts playing in chat.
Oh, All right. Now, hopefully we're back.
And again, welcome to the rehearsal.
Are you a bit hungover from New Year's there, Mark? I have to ask.
No, I think what happened, I was trying to show you this keyboard I've got here on mine, and I think I hit my cord hit the wrong button. Because the keyboard that's in my D board here looks just like the one that you were showing.
Okay. Yeah, I just got confirmation from Rocky Hill saying it's a podcast now. It's no longer a CoCo Talk. They could hear us though, I guess, through all this. So
yeah, it switched scenes on me.
Yeah, you blame the cord. I say. I mean, you've been Mark Bede.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an encore presentation of the very popular Gatecrasher CoCo Thoughts.
Well, I'm sure Nick didn't mind the free ad for
that's fine.
free ad for free software.
I need another Ferrari.
Anyway, like I said, this is a typical CoCo one from that era. I saw so many hacked just as much as this is. We actually, one of our local people did the Model 3 keyboard too. Mark Kurchinski was the guy's name. I remember that. And that was so far beyond me. I was a teenager. I was no better at soldering or hardware than I am now. So I just did the software stuff so I wouldn't hurt myself. Anyway, it's really cool that he found these because some of these he kind of mentions in the comments he didn't know he still had. And he's got at least, 4 CoCo 3s of different types, et cetera, too. So definitely a lot of good CoCo history there to go through, both CoCo 1 and the CoCo 3. If you want to check it out on Facebook. Next up, there's a guy named Brian Schubring called the Music Man who's actually on the call. So I'll let him explain what he did here. If you can figure out how to unmute.
Okay. Riveting.
Hang on a second.
I figured the show was going too smooth here, so I had to put you on the spot to make it even more awkward.
Yeah. Am I coming through okay, or am I too loud?
You're
too soft.
Light. You're too light, if anything.
Boost that gain about 3 dB.
Okay, is that a little bit better?
No difference.
Not
No
much.
difference.
Hit it again.
Are you close to the mic?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, you should be picking me up.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Better. That's better.
There we go. That's weird. It's all of a sudden it's really
Now you're quiet
soft.
again.
Better?
There.
Okay. Is that better?
That's
just
good.
Just like me, too many buttons.
Yeah, I'm running with my mixer and whatnot.
Brian,
No,
you and
I
Mark
just-
should do a podcast together. That would be like the ultimate dumpster fire.
Oh, I can go real wild if you want.
No, that's good. Thanks.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead with your traffic.
Okay, no wop from the helicopter up here. So this is Brian Schubring, the Music Man. We are 1,000 feet up, and what I was doing here was just I remembered that I'd done Care of the Barrels way back when. I can't remember exactly when I did, and did it for the TG33. And because it has real good handbell sounds and whatnot, I just wanted to have something like that. So I found it and I just posted it. That's about all that I did here. Just wish everybody Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and the whole 9 yards and all that.
Yeah, no, you did 2 things actually, because you uploaded the actual MIDI file for Ultimuse itself.
Yes, I did. I did do that. I yanked it out of my inventory, created a actual floppy disk sized file, and sent it out.
Yeah. So you posted that on Facebook. Have you posted that onto the archive as well, or?
Not yet. I know I said I was going to, but I forgot. Got busy with things. I went to go see what was that? Jeff Dunham last night.
Oh, okay. Because as you mentioned in the comments when you were kind of like giving the preview of the video here before we start playing the song, and I'll play a little bit of it here just to get us a little back Christmas spirit here. But you mentioned that the bell sound in this is specific to a specific synthesizer too, right?
Right. It was the Yamaha TG33. It's non-general MIDI synthesizer box, and it has some really, really good acoustic sounds, and it had a real good handbell sound, and that which I don't see anywhere in the standard GM MIDI sound at all. You've got tubular bells, but not a handbell sound. So, and that's why I used that in this, so that because it really brought forth that sound real nice.
Okay.
So, but there are methods to tweak your sounds to get it to sound close and all that.
Yeah. So people that don't have that specific synth, though, should not expect quite the same sound unless, like you said, they tweak it for their own specific synth settings.
Right. If they're running with Ultramuse, they'd have to change the sound patches anyway. If they're using for the synthesizers that they're using, because a lot of today's synthesizers are general MIDI in that. So.
As you can see, Choir of the Bells. I moused this in sometime in the past. I think it was maybe.
And for those who have not seen before, this is Ultimuse 3 on screen.
10 years ago, maybe. It could have been longer. But I just wanted to share this with you and let you just have the Christmas spirit flow and listen to some tunes.
It is really nice sounding. I like the volume swells too.
Beautiful synth sound.
Yeah. The volume swells what I really, when I first listened to, that really stuck out to me, because normally you hear these Christmas carols and they're basically everything's at the same volume level, but you actually have like the bells fading at different parts of the song.
Yeah.
So the gradually fading on the background, which is really nice. I imagine that takes a bit of extra time to mouse too.
No, not actually not. With Ultramuse, you just simply say, okay, I want to create a crescendo. You know, I want to go from the current volume for this particular instrument on this channel to go from, say, let's set at MF, okay, or it's say it's 80, but you want to try crescendo up to say like maybe 120. So you say, okay, say from here to here over this time period. And then after that, if you want to have it go back down, you just do just the opposite. So with Ultramuse, that's one of the nice features that was put into it by Mike, is that you can have that expression.
Oh, cool. So you don't have to like mouse an individual volume. You just tell it crescendo to a certain level.
Exactly. So, and that's what really makes music sound alive, is the fact being able to do things like that. And,
dynamics.
So you got your dynamics, your tremolo, all your different types of effects that you can apply. For Ultramuse, for what it is, it does a lot more than what a lot of people really think.
Yeah, most people just get like the basic, you punch in sheet music and away you go. They don't know about all the fancy stuff.
Yeah, that's where you get to need to see a little bit of music theory and all that, how to read the sheet music, and so you can see some of the accents and symbols and all that.
Yeah, and Ultramuse is actually a really, really good program. Like it's one of the few things I can honestly say that the OS9 MIDI software for entering sheet music in particular is better under OS9 than it is under Disk Basic. Now, MIDI recording, there's some better stuff like CoCo MIDI Pro, etc. You do real-time recording off an actual synthesizer. You're playing it live. But as far as playing goes and entering in sheet music, this is actually one of the few cases where an OS9 program is better than any Disk Basic alternative.
Exactly. So, no, I just wanted to put it out there and share and whatnot. I've got a plethora of different types of music out there besides my MIDI box stuff, which is all general MIDI stuff. This is just some stuff that I do.
Yeah, and the nice thing about this too is because these are classic Christmas carols and stuff here, they can't get nailed with copyright strikes. We can actually play them.
Yep, exactly. Good for you, Curtis.
And then here's the actual download. If you want to get it, it's on the CoCo Facebook group, and it's called UME Music with a Z/Z. and you can copy it over. And as we mentioned before, if you have a synth other than the one that he originally created this for, you might want to tweak it a little bit for the bell sound. This one we kind of already covered here. This is the new version of the Nightmare Highway. This is the actual Facebook video version of it, which I don't think is on YouTube yet. I won't recover it here because we already talked about it at the beginning of the show, but there it is. Next up is the Infinite Bobs demo that Simon Jonassen did, which is kind of a bunch of balls. And he did some tricks of getting this animation to work really fast. And he actually uploaded the source code here, kind of explaining how it's done so that people can take a look at it. Geronimo Vanden in particular was asking about it. And here's the actual demo itself. So it's a fairly complex looking animation with a lot of quote unquote sprites, etc. But there's definitely some tricks as to how he's doing this, super smooth and super fast. But you guys can look through the source code to figure that out for yourselves. Okay, this one here is actually the CoCo crew put up a little Christmas music ditty too, and they actually used the GMC cartridge to do it. So this is. I can't remember what the description was. Yeah, it was a VGM file captured, performed on the Game Master cartridge sound hardware, and emulated under XWare, which supports the Game Master cartridge if you're doing development. So I'll play a little bit of that as well. It's got a little bit of that, 8-bit percussion type sounds in it too. This is a new channel I've not seen before, the Taylor and Amy Show. And it's basically a couple of girls that actually do hardware upgrades and stuff on retro hardware. So this was a completely shock to me. And they actually did one where they got a CoCo 2 and they upgraded it from 16 to 64K. So I've sent out an invite if they would like to pop in our chat or maybe even pop on the show at some point, because we don't get too many females doing hardware upgrades, especially, or retro computing in general. And it's done with a definite sense of humor, as you can tell by this screenshot right here. They definitely don't take themselves too seriously, but it's a really fun channel. It was very approachable, and they do show you how to upgrade the CoCo. They show pulling the chips out, putting the chips in. One thing I found amusing is they didn't figure out that the keyboard, because this is the straight Mylar, not the old connector style keyboard, they didn't realize it could be unplugged, so they were trying to pull the chips out with the keyboard still in the way with the ribbon cable. So I left them a message that you could take that out and fix it up here. Here they show it working as a 16K machine just in case things went wrong and it didn't work afterwards. I want to prove it did work before. And they get in some of the technical details and talking about the RAM chips and the ROMs. They were mentioning the fact that the, 24-pin ROMs in the original CoCo 2, which is not something you can get too commonly these days. So people are making adapters. So they are aware of some of that stuff. And at the end they have, what did they call it? A rockin' game of math bingo, just to show off that the machine was still working after the 64K RAM upgrade. They still have just color basic in it. I did give them some suggestions because they wanted to be able to test 64K. They did the print mem, of course, and that just reports 32K because that's all basic, knows how to recognize. And they had 4 cartridges they got with this and 2 Black Beauty joysticks. So the joysticks do work. They played Math Bingo head to head, and you'll see at the end of the video. But unfortunately, the other games, which they had stuff like microbes and different things, apparently did not work. So I'm not sure what the problem there, if the cartridge was just, bunged up, or maybe the contacts are too dirty. They just need to do the pencil eraser trick to clean the pins. Maybe that was causing a problem or something. I'm not sure. But I definitely am going to keep an eye on this channel in the future because it's rather unique seeing 2 women host a hardware retro tech type thing. I don't think I've ever seen that before actually on YouTube. I mean, we've got a few people like Jerry Ellsworth and others that do some retro stuff here, but it's just fascinating to get somebody involved, especially when you're using some CoCo stuff. You're actually doing that kind of thing. And obviously, I'm very jealous that they actually have, technical skills because I don't. I wouldn't try to do these upgrades myself. I would have wrecked the computer by now. So definitely go check it out. Leave some comments. Give them some encouragement.
Did they show any soldering, Curtis?
I don't. I think this one just required. Oh no, there might have been ones where they might have had to solder. I'm trying to remember. But here you can see they're trying to pull the chips out, but leaving the keyboard plugged in. It's much easier if you just unplug it. But I know at first glance, this type of a keyboard looks like that's a permanent attachment to the circuit board, and you don't want to wreck it, right? You don't realize the Mylar just pulls out. This is where I preferred the older D and E boards, the original CoCo ones, because it actually had a connector, so you could tell it was meant to be unplugged. Whereas, you know, a person that's not familiar with the CoCo may not know that in this case here.
Amen.
I'm just putting up the old 64 gig RAM chips for the upgrade. And then she was talking about here something I think a lot of us have encountered, where you take all the screws out of the corners where you can actually see them, and then you can't get the case apart because there's that one hidden under the warranty sticker. And her CoCo was a virgin one; it didn't have the warranty sticker punctured. So as she kind of joked on the show here, she voted the warranty to do this upgrade. And then of course they played Math Bingo to kind of close things out. And they mentioned some of the other cartridges that didn't work for some reason. Anyway, I'm going to keep an eye on the channel here. I'm hoping they'll do some more CoCo content. They were talking about doing the extended basic upgrade, for example, using one of the modern adapters for a 28 to a 24-pin EEPROM. So I'm hopefully I've put an invitation to have them even come on the show, either just as guests and chat for a bit, see if they want to come on actually as a live guest on the show at some point too. So I'll let you guys know. I just found this morning, so we'll find out. Next up, now this is kind of a couple stories combined into one. So this is the Mister. Now, most of us who are familiar with the Mister know that it's there's a ton of cores for various machines, both retro computers, retro game systems, etc. Roger Taylor does an active CoCo 3 core for it. That's kind of talking about Patreon and GoFundMe. That's how he does that. You contribute $5 a month and you get the updates, etc. And it's fairly long advanced now. It's actually running pretty good. There's now an alternative one, a free one that's coming out, and it's based on some of Gary Becker's original work. Of course, he's the guy who did the CoCo 3 FPGA. So this is a test of one of the early alpha version of that engine. He's actually calling a level 2 OS9 BBS, and then he sends a tweet from there. And he's running Ultima Term, which is a CoCo 3 only program written by fellow Canadian Ken Johnson, originally of Calgary. I won't play the whole video here, but I'll just play little bits and pieces here because they're kind of just demoing the fact that the core is somewhat working. It is alpha. It is a bit buggy. There are some things that don't work properly. I know on the Amigos, I was actually asked Boyd about this if he was still on, because a few of them had mentioned it. And reading the comments, both there and on some of the channels that actually discuss the Mr. cores, it sounds like this is not quite ready for prime time yet. I wouldn't definitely not make this your daily driver of a CoCo 3 on a Mr. For that, you'll want Roger Taylor still. But the fact that there's a free alternative coming out and is at the point where it can actually start running this kind of stuff is definitely very good. And if Gary Becker obviously knows the machine inside out from doing the CoCo 3 FPGA, so if he's helping develop this, or at least is the base of it, I think we'll see some pretty good stuff come out of this. So you'll soon have a couple alternatives on the Mister. The Mister already has a CoCo 1 and 2 core. Dave Shadoff, that's in our chat, is one of the people actually actively contributing to that in our Discord. And this is the CoCo 3 model now too. So, but you can see he's emulating like the terminal hardware here, and he's actually logged into a BBS, and seems to be working pretty good. Next up, we have Color Computer Programming. So he took a bit of a break just before Christmas for a couple weeks, and then he came out with a couple about 2 weeks ago, and he's kind of on his New Year's break right now. But he did two that he added on since the last time we talked about his stuff on the show. He does Moving the Spider, how to use Get Put for beginners, and he does a 30-minute tutorial on that. And then he did a quick little 4-minute one here, kind of showing a Merry Christmas 2021 for CoCo 1 and 2. I thought I would show a little bit of that. Hopefully I don't get any stupid commercials.
Okay, hi, welcome back.
Fast forward a bit here to get the results. I'm probably going to get a commercial on that. Oh, just pause. Like the little things like animated Christmas lights on the house, and just a couple cute things. A guy walks around, etc. And this is just using basic. There's no fancy assembly or anything in here. And I don't know if his leg is walking or if he's got a hockey stick. I can't quite tell. As a Canadian, that works for me either way. So,
taking a piss.
Thanks for heightening that up, Nick.
I look like.
Really classing up the joint, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yellow snow.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's cool because you've been doing this channel now for months now. That he's just going through some of the stuff you can do in BASIC and learning techniques as he goes himself. And I've given him a couple of suggestions of a few things too, from what little I remember from using extended BASIC. Because I don't use it that often anymore, but it's a good addition to, say, Stevie's tutorial going through the manuals. There's a few others like Tim Linder started some stuff for assembly, etc. A lot of these tutorials and programming on the CoCo, and we did have a really good BASIC, and this kind of helped, and I liked it. This is one John Linville posted in the MC10 group. So the MC10, the original power supply is impossible to get replacements for. Now, what he found here, and he actually gives some links, down in the comments, specifically what you actually have to order from Jamico, but you can actually get a replacement one. So if you've lost or have a damaged MC10 AC adapter for the power, and this is for the NTSC North American version, obviously not the the French or UK PAL brace versions. You actually can just get a current brand new from Jamico replacement AC adapter that works fine. So any of you that have gotten an MC10 at some garage sale or from eBay that was missing or had a damaged power supply or adapter, I should say, you can actually pick up a replacement brand new from Jamico and it works fine.
Yeah,
So
and I'll speak for this. I have one. I've had one for a couple of years. Works really well. I actually bought it. The Jamico got it through Amazon.
Oh, okay.
So they sell their stuff on Amazon also. But yeah, it's
cool.
Gangbusters.
Yeah, because I do remember a few years back, some people had picked up some of these like at flea markets and stuff, and they were missing the power supply, and they didn't know if they could ever get it working again without having to custom make some weird thing. And the fact you could just get something off the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, it's 9 volts AC at 1500 milliamps. I think the stock one was like 8 AC, but that doesn't seem to matter. Works really well. That's the one I've been using my MC10 on for as long as I've had it.
And I'm assuming that's even with add-on cards like memory upgrades and the MCX and stuff too?
Yeah, I've used it with the MCX 128 also.
Cool. Rocky Hill in the chat's mentioning here, he said the NES power supplies work well too. I didn't know that.
I think the issue with that one is you have to change the connector.
Oh, okay. So it's not a straight plug-in. You gotta.
No, it's not, because I was going to do that. I'm like, it doesn't fit. I really don't want to have to cut the end off, and so I got for one of these, so it works well too.
And Jameco is also a good place to get RAM for the CoCo.
Just out of curiosity, Jason, do you remember roughly what one of these costs, in case anybody is needing one?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. It's been a while.
Like it's not super expensive. There's lots of
no, it's under $20 for certain. I mean, before shipping, I bet ballpark, but it's not too bad.
Well, and luckily, all of the regulation is on the MC10, so all you need is 8 or 9 volts at plenty of amps and the right positive negative coaxial connector on it, and you're gold. Unlike some like British computers where if you unplug the power supply while the computer was running, everything exploded because part of the electronics was in the lump and part of the electronics was in the computer.
Right. It looks like actually he's got the Amazon link here, so maybe I can.
Yeah, it looks like it's selling for $13.31 US right now before shipping or tax or anything. So that I think it's even less than I paid for mine originally. That's a good price
in Canada.
And what's that in Celsius?
$16.98 Canadian.
All stock. Yeah, it's a plain stock thing. Cool.
Yeah, it's works really well. I think it's the same. I think it's the exact same one I have here. Yeah, the
Relia Pro. Blah, blah, blah.
Relia Pro. It's a slightly different number, but it's still the same spec.
And since there's all this new software coming out for the MC10 now, if you do have an MC10 that's missing a power supply, you should go get one now because there's a ton of new stuff to play on it.
Well, the thing that's interesting is at the time of the MC10, you needed a linear power supply like this, which is a big, heavy, kind of expensive thing to get the current, where nowadays there might be 5 of these sitting in your junk box of things that weigh 1/10 of an ounce that came from China that can deliver this current just fine. It's
switching supplies. Wow.
What I was running into when I was looking for a supply was a 9 volt AC supply. That's not so hard to find, but the amperage was the issue. Everything I was finding didn't provide enough amperage, and this is an amp. The one I have here is an amp and a half.
Yeah, this is what this is too.
Yeah,
also, Mark Siegel mentioned, you said you don't want a supply that can't supply at least 1,500 milliamps. You don't want anything lower than that.
Right.
Well, remember when the 1 amp 12 volt supply was a great big brick with a reset button in the top of it, and now it's like a tiny little,
Yeah. So anyway, any of those of you that have MC10s and either have damaged power supplies or transformer, I should say, the adapter, or are missing one completely because you picked it up at a flea market or whatever, then brand new off the shelf, order it from Amazon. And then my last story here is just kind of a cool one. Tom Erik Gundersen, who's actually, I think he's still in our chat, and he's one of our regular viewers here, managed to pick up a very early Dragon 32, very early serial number from eBay, getting shipped to him. And I think he's in Norway or something, mainland Europe anyway. So he's got number 388 of the original run, which is actually one of the earliest ones I think I've seen the sticker for. So he's getting a fairly historic Dragon 32, one of the first 400. And that is the end of the news.
And that was awfully short.
Well, I did compress some of it. Like I said, I wasn't going to go through all the gameplay videos and stuff. So, plus, today is technically a holiday. I wanted to have everybody dragged in here for the entire New Year's Day. Well, except Nick. I'd make Nick stay because it's not a holiday there anymore. I think they're ready to the second, aren't they?
Yeah, but who cares about Australia?
It's not real.
Crikey.
Anyway.
Crikey, Australia getting ahead of themselves again.
Isn't Australia just a big prison anyways, if I'm not mistaken, from history?
Oh, you're stirring the pot again, are you not, Grant?
Yeah, I'm stirring it.
That's no longer a pot. It's now a baby pool, and you're using an oar at this point. But yeah, and I did see, I think it was Mark Siegel, UL rated, which it is UL. At least the one I have here is.
Yeah, the one there was mentioned, I think, too.
I wonder if the price is any different if you just go directly to Jameco.
It's probably my experience was, I think I looked. Oh, there's a cat, Mark.
Oh, yep, there it is.
Yeah, cat sighting. But when I looked into it with the one I bought, it was actually the one I had was Amazon Prime. It was actually more expensive to order it through Jameco because I think there may have been a minimum order, but the shipping was a lot more.
Also, Tom Erik, concerning the Dragon 32 there, he said, yes, he's in Norway. I bought it just for the serial number, so he wanted to get one of the early serial number ones.
Okay.
Hey, Curtis.
Yes.
I got a correction here. I thought I was using the bells. I wasn't. I was using a different patch, but for a General MIDI patch 113, the Tinkle Bell will suffice in replacing that patch.
Oh, okay. So if anybody downloads the disc you put up, they can just do that for General MIDI.
Yeah, I thought I was using that bells on, but I'm not. I think I'm going to have to try it now that I found it.
Might have an update next week, folks.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? All right. Back to you.
Carol of the Tinkle Bells.
Do we have any project updates today? I think Rick Sloopy did, but he's disappeared on us.
Is he hanging on?
No,
I'm just lurking.
Where are you?
He's the green screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Sloopy, you have an update then?
Sure. You want to put me up there?
He lives, man.
Okay, here you are.
Greetings.
Ready for your close-up?
No. That's Jimmy.
Don't do that to everyone out there.
Cruel.
I'm trying to figure out oh, now I know why. Okay. That should be better. No, it's just a minor update. I got a new toy. As you've been seeing. That is my CoCo 3 in all full HDMI glory. I got a AV composite to HDMI adapter, which is a cool new toy, and I've got a HDMI capture card coming early next week. But that's only the minor thing to show. I finally got around to
wires.
Yeah.
We're falling.
Yeah, I got a Rube Goldberg machine going on for my camera.
Take your Dramamine now, guys.
Right. I remember this from the 70s.
This is what I felt like earlier on New Year's.
Well, here's my CoCo 3, which is nothing special in this group. But something seems to be missing.
Transformer for one.
Yep. That's what's missing.
And you've got a pepper chip.
I've got a pepper board installed down here. And obviously you've seen the machine running during the entire show. Yesterday I had it running for a good 8 hours, so they seem to be pretty solid. And it's brought my CoCo 3 back to life.
Cool.
The transformer decided to off itself a couple months ago.
I see one issue still with your CoCo 3, though.
What's that?
It's only got 120K RAM.
And you didn't even notice that it has a CoCo 2 keyboard on it?
I was going to tell you your arrow keys were in the wrong places.
Depends what game you're trying to play. I actually prefer that layout for some.
Yeah, basically the Mylar in my keyboard has issues, and just so that I can use it, I have the CoCo 2 keyboard in there.
Yep, and it works fine. You're just missing all the control and the 2 function keys, which BASIC doesn't normally support anyway. So if you're not running OS 9, which does use those keys fairly extensively, then it doesn't really matter.
Use OS what?
Unless you need to flip your artifact colors.
Please shoot him now. No, I'm just kidding.
Never heard of it. OS 9.
And how are you flipping your artifact colors then?
I'm not. I flip it. It doesn't flip me. But no, that's something I'm in the talks with Mr. Dave 6309 about the keyboard. And I've actually got a 512K RAM board on its way to me. It's should be here in about 3 weeks.
Cool. That opens up a whole new set of software for you on both operating systems. So
yeah, I do have an actual 512 card. That's one of the I think it's a performance peripherals from back in the day.
Okay, yeah.
But it's got all the drams in it and et cetera, et cetera. I just haven't put it in here because I haven't really had a need to it. I only just got the pepper board in there the other day. So
yeah, because it was basically not functioning basically before that, from what you were saying.
Right. Yeah, the memory, it was blank. So it doesn't matter if there's 128K or 512 when it's all zeros.
I just saw 60's comment, guard, seize the heretic. I'm totally with him on that one.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of 60, I decided to be different from everyone else. And instead of getting the usual suspects 512, I actually ordered it from Kieran himself. So
okay, yeah, because he made a few there in that little batch when he was kind of learning how all that stuff worked.
Right. So I'll have the only one in North America.
Aren't you special?
Hey, the CoCo 3 might not be my first, but I'd like to make something special about it. So excuse me. Hopefully in about 3 weeks, as the Sherpa swims across the Great Pond, I'll have 512K in it.
Cool.
But yep, those are my
That combined with your HDMI thing means you should be able to stream some stuff right off your CoCo and with pretty good quality then.
Yep.
And play a lot of the later CoCo 3 games that require 512.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a CRT monitor sitting right here, so it's not like this is more for streaming than it is for actual display. So, but the output is not too bad. This one actually has pretty decent output for a CoCo 3, so it should all look good. But other announcement that I have to make is, let's see here. Let's show you the ugly mug. As everyone remembers a few weeks back, because everyone is just riveted to the show, the Pocket TRS that I was speaking of.
Yeah.
I will be worked out the details, and I will be making a run of them if anyone is interested. It's they're going to be $80 plus shipping, and it'll be the current revision, not this revision. And unfortunately, due to chip shortages, I'll only have about 2 to sell until I can get more of a certain type of chip that's being very elusive.
Okay.
But once those chips become no longer elusive, and unfortunately, DigiKey is showing a August of 2022 ship date, I'll be able to ship more.
Okay. We also have a question on YouTube from a person called Truth Seekers. Says, when will someone make a CoCo RGB to VGA converter? I'm stuck with composite and it's terrible in 80 column mode. There's actually been a few in the past.
I would.
The Gimme X does, for example, but it's not for sale publicly yet.
I would recommend them to CoCo Man because he would know that stuff better than I do. I'm a CRT kind of guy.
I thought there was somebody making a board recently that was posting on Facebook.
Yeah, there was. And I mean, also Mark Millett at Cloud9 had made one, which had some Spanish name. I can't remember the name of it now off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But the DV board, was it AC?
Yeah.
There's the one that uses the Pi Zero, I think, and then the add-on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, that's the one that, what's his name from Twit showed us.
Yeah.
Does that one do VGA?
I'm trying to remember.
I do believe it does do VGA.
I know the Gimme X does because it has 5 different outputs you can choose from on the Gimme X, but the Gimme X isn't commercially available yet due to chip shortages, et cetera, like everybody else.
Yeah.
Best I can do is SCART the HDMI in this end. So if there's something else, there you go.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I've got a Recaton or whatever that will translate RGB to VGA, but it's 15 point whatever kilohertz VGA, and I can't capture it or anything. I've got a few odd monitors that can display it, but it's not really VGA, even though it's VGA. You know?
Yeah, because most modern VGA monitors, I don't think even run under 31.5 kilohertz, do they?
Right, exactly. And
there's a few older ones that are about like 5-10 years old that will. Easiest way to find them is usually to find a VGA monitor that works on an Amiga or ST, and then it'll work on the CoCo 3. It works on those.
But what I really want is a video capture card for that, and I haven't been able to come up with one.
Yeah.
He also says, I can't believe I once threw 3 CM8 CoCo monitors in the trash. I'd kill to have one now.
That's probably not something that you should be admitting.
Did they have doors on them?
Right. Doubles the value.
Anybody else have any project updates or acquisitions?
Oh,
or
yeah,
were you done, Sloopy? I probably should ask that first.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm done. I was done as soon as I asked, what's OS 9?
Darn right you're done for on that comment.
Yeah, I see the guys off to my just outside of camera view. They're ready. They got some large things that don't look like they tickle.
Big wooden paddles, etc.
Oh, I thought that was metal. Wood is good.
Rick Ulland, you said you have a project update?
Well, yeah, I've been working on the little web browser thing since I couldn't really work on hardware. And I just have to ask you, who puts over 200 characters in a link description in the little underlined part of the link? I'm going to have to rethink some of my string length assignments and so forth as far as the average web page goes. Of course, then I also went to a couple other sites and found, oh yeah, PHP with anonymized links. So yeah, I guess the link really needs to be 300-400 bytes long.
Well, thankfully, you can do strings that large easily in Basic 9. So,
well, yeah, you can. It's just okay. Now I've got links, stored all the links on the page into a string array, and I've got I'm getting on up there in my data usage here. So anyway, I just thought it was funny because when I'm writing it, I'm just writing along and I'm thinking, yeah, the underlined link, a whole line, 80 characters, that should be plenty. That's good enough for anybody. 80 characters is good enough for anybody. And then a link, 80 characters, probably pretty good for a link, /home, whatever. Here's the name of the page. No, you get out in the real world and it's PHP, string of characters about 3 lines long.
Well, don't feel bad. Bill Gates had the same encountered the same problem. I mean, who could possibly need more than 640K?
Well, exactly right. So yeah, I've still got 12K left.
Well, you got some other alternatives too. You could initialize like a little RAM drive and just throw some of those big strings on the RAM drive in like fixed length file, so you can just grab them when you need them, and not take it out of your main memory space.
Right,
just have one buffer.
I guess the important thing is this is not the program. This is just figuring out what the program should be like. So it's bad basic and it's bad everything, but I'm learning, okay, I need this block of HTML tags to sort of be in a block of data so I can just scan through it and pick all these off because they're easy to do and they're done. And then I need a string array to hold all of these this table data because I'm going to have to bounce columns wide and narrow and blah, blah, blah. So, it's working good for that, but, geez, 230 bytes in the underlined string as a table click on linky thing. It's like three lines on the CoCo are the link. Just click anywhere sort of in the middle third of the screen and you're gonna...
And you haven't even included all those Facebook referral tags they add on there too. If you're coming from Facebook and adds, question mark equals FB or whatever it is, and then
we can't even go there. Right now the main thing I'm writing is cutting things out. Colon. Okay, this is CSS. You're gone. Okay, font tag. Yeah, you're gone.
Yeah, strip it to the bare minimum.
Well, speed it up. Delete everything you can first, and then whatever you can't delete, then process that.
Cool. Well, so that's good. That's advancing. I've been kind of trying to monitor a little bit in the Discord server that's been set up for the Ethernet card stuff there, but haven't been able to contribute too much because I'm busy with a couple other projects.
Your time will come, Curtis. Your time will come.
Not for a while. I want to try to get the next version of Nitrous 9 out in time for the May CoCoFest too. So I just fixed a bug in G-Shell that somebody pointed out. I think it was Strick actually pointed out recently. There's a little bit of a bug in the help command, which I just literally fixed yesterday. So.
Don't the upgrades usually come out around Christmas time? Are we running that far behind?
I've been busy with Petsky and a few other things that I don't normally be doing at the same time, so that's taken a lot of my time.
So are you saying that Nitrous 9 is no longer your top priority? Do you hear this, Nick?
No, I'm planning on doing a Nitrous 9 version of Petsky. We just have to get the DOS version done first. So. But also the fact is that there's some other people involved now in different parts of it too. Like Todd Wallace has been doing some stuff. Fed Provanch is working on a new control panel system that's actually going to include the entire environment file. So you won't have to run like this little utility to fix the printer and this utility to fix the RStudio.
Yay, Fred!
This one to fix the palettes. It's going to be one big master control program like modern operating systems would do, or more modern anyway. So cool. That's being worked on. There's a bunch of stuff, and we basically want to be able to just put this all in there once. I don't want to have to piecemeal like I did a little release at Christmas, and then we're going to add Fred stuff in a month and Bill's stuff in 2 months, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I want to try to get everything for that ship date for the fest.
Sounds like a plan.
Anybody else have any project updates or acquisitions?
What about Nick's game? What's the latest update on that?
Nothing new to report at the moment. I've been doing a fair bit. It's coming along pretty good, but yeah, nothing.
He likes his
to
fancy,
report.
slicked up presentations ready before he tells anybody what he's coming.
I've got to put together the lies properly.
Do you think it'll be ready by CoCoFest?
Yeah. When's CoCoFest?
Middle of May.
Middle of May.
14,
Yeah, it
15.
might be. It might be. Yeah.
He likes all his wallabies in a row.
Yeah.
And if not, we'll distract people with the new version of Nitrous 9 so they won't even notice that they're missing your games.
Yeah, he's learning from this. Yeah, he's learning from this show, so he doesn't make the same mistakes.
Yeah. Fred just mentioned he's working on the new control even as he speaks, so he's working on it literally right now. Anybody else have any project updates or acquisitions?
Oh, I got the new bell sound in.
Yeah, play a few seconds of that one. I'll hear what it sounds like.
Nice.
It played for a second or two and then it went bye-bye.
Yeah, the volume went down.
It's nice, Bill.
Oh, that does sound a lot better.
Yeah, that's the actual bell sound
Fine.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, whatever comment you said at the end there, Brian, we couldn't hear you over the music. So
I know. That's the bell sound. And I just realized that in this here, I actually wasn't using the crescendo. I was actually hard coding in all the different
volumes.
Because you can see like the PP. You couldn't hear me over there. So, but you know, like it's got the different, you know, PP, MP, F, and that those are the musical volume notations, and then you can set the what volume it is for each of those indicators. So I was actually using that instead of the crescendo and all that, which I've been using in other pieces. So anyway,
that does sound really good. I can see why you had made one specifically for that synth.
Yeah, I forgot that I switched it back to the other because the bells was overpowering for the way that I have it written. So back to the channel.
Now
Okay.
it's Carol of the overpowering bells.
Any further project updates or acquisitions from anybody else on the panel? Nope. Looks like we're done there. So I don't think we
Okay.
have anything else planned for the show today, do we?
We didn't have a plan for this show to start with.
I was about to ask. There was a plan.
Yeah, the only thing we planned for is apparently lots of echo. It's kind of like lots of cowbell.
This was only rehearsal.
What about our
wasn't it?
guests? Do we have any guests coming up next week?
I have to do some confirmations just to make sure people haven't forgot over the holidays, because we did get quite a few cancellations in December and postponements and stuff here. So I did get confirmation on one, the Doug and Kevin Leaney along with Paul and Tim Thayer. That one is a go, but that's several weeks ahead, I think. But I'm waiting for the confirmation from the person that's actually going to be on next week. So I won't say anything until I'm positive it's actually happening, because I made a lot of promises in December that didn't happen. So, but yeah, we've got multiple interviews coming up over the next few weeks.
Hey, we're ready for the outro?
Push the button, Frank.
Yep, hit the button.
This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer, MC10, and Dragon systems. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at cocotalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live. Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click on the Patreon link on our website, cocotalk.live. CoCoTALK would not exist without the community, its cast, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Alan Murphy, Amigos Retro Gaming, Bill Noble, Brian Joyce, Brian Weaver, Curtis Boyle, D. Bruce Moore, Danny O'Connor, David Ladd, Eric Canales, George Jansen, Grant Leedy, James Diffendapper, Jason Reichert, Jim Brain, Ken Reichert, Ken Waters, Mark Bosley, Mark Overholzer, Mikey Furman, Mr. Dave 6309, Nick Marentes, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Paul Fiscarelli, Richard Lorbieski, Rick Adams, Rick Ulland, Rob Inman, Ron Delvaux, Samuel Gimes, Sloopy Malibu, Steve Bjork, Terry Steggy, Tom C., and many, many more. Please help support the CoCo community. A list of various contributors and resources are available at imacoconut.com. That's IMACOCONUT.com. The original CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. The new CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2020 by D. Bruce Moore. Both are mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. CoCo forever!
All right. I'll see you later.
All right, take care, Nick.
Bye, Nick.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.
Time might play a little. That song might double back to play a little. Handful of rum. Dungeons and
Yeah, it's echoing. Yep.
Color baseball. But none can hold a candle to the greatest of them all. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Sure, I love my Sailor Man and Firefall. Go on a rampage for some super pitfall. Shanghai me into a game of rogue or demon attack. But sooner or later, you know I've got to come back to Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. It's got a road. And it's got a car. Dodge the furniture and you'll be a pop star. Well, okay, maybe I just stick to the facts. To tell this truth, this game really ain't all that. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway.
Terry, look out!
It's a stampede of sofas.
I've never seen a herd this big since the Chesterfield Drive of '06.
I hope we can make it to the fest.
I used to bow down to the Donkey King. Grabber and Cashman used to be my thing. Megabug, Buzzard Bait, Sea Dragon 2. But none of those can satisfy me much as you do. Nightmare Highway.